Abend. Hi Lukas. Nicht schnell. Nice, dass du da bist. Ich muss mal kurz was hier einstellen. Jetzt bin ich da. So. Mal willkommen hierher zu Great Ace Attorney. Und wie geht's denn so? So. Jetzt geht's weiter mit Reden. Ja, ganz gut. Hab ja heute Morgen auch ein bisschen gestreamt. Ich habe wahrscheinlich die halbe Episode gemacht. Und jetzt geht's weiter. Der Prozess wird vertagt, weil irgendwas dazwischen gekommen ist. Deswegen mussten weitere Untersuchungen gemacht werden. Was dabei rauskommt. 22nd February, 1:11 p.m. Narodos Legal Consultancy. Phew, we made it back in one piece. Just. Ganz knapp. Moin Sand. Wie geht's? Ach, ihr hattet Spätschicht. Oder habt ihr vielleicht frei? Oder du? Na gut, schön, dass du da bist. To be perfect honest, I thought we were finished there for a while. Oh, I know. Am Sonntag? Nee. Ja, keine Ahnung, da haben die Läden doch auch nicht offen. Oh. Stimmt, heute ist Sonntag. Da war was. Ja, warte mal, ich hab nichts gesagt. Hier war... Hä? Habe ich falsch verstanden? Irgendwie hat Kira nicht gesagt, heute wäre Spätschicht, oder ich hab's komplett falsch verstanden? Ich weiß es nicht. Naja. Wir vergessen das. So. Und dank dem Spiel vergesse ich auch nichts zu trinken, weil ich hier so viel trinke, wegen dem Reden. Brauche ich auch keine Erinnerung daran. Ja genau, die nächste Woche Spätschicht. Oh, ja. Würde ja klar gehen. So. Oh I know, what a lot of close shaves. There's so many carriages in the street of London. You were very nearly flattened several times. No, I didn't mean that. Yes, I know. It was marvelous defense, Narodos' son. It really was. I was in awe of you. Thank you. And now that your fervent exploits have won us some more precious investigation time, let's see if we can find some new clues for court tomorrow. Yes, let's do that. Is everything alright? I suppose I still can't quite believe it, that's all. I'm here in England working as a lawyer, I mean. In the Old Bailey, no less. The truth is, it shouldn't be me, should it? Ja... Ich lasse mir da eher Zeit. Ich habe gesagt, ich lasse die Zuschauerzahl aus oder so und Follower gucke ich zwar nach. Aber ich glaube, das wird noch ein bisschen dauern. Auch wenn ich 50 Follower habe. Bei dir ja auch, also mal davon erzählt, wegen der durchschnittlichen Zuschaueranzahl. Muss ja auch ein bisschen höher sein. Was? Was? Seit wann? Also ich bin froh darüber, seit wann habe ich Qualitätseinstellungen? Ja, freut mich, dass es funktioniert. Ja genau, also ich hatte bisher nur 900p. Oh, Ja, ich sehe es auch. Ich habe ja gerade den Stream Manager da, aber okay, cool. Ich hoffe mal, es bleibt jetzt immer so, aber ich muss mal drauf achten die nächsten Male. Da freut mich, dass es funktioniert. Ich dachte, es kommt erst auch bei nach Affiliate. Aber wenn es jetzt schon geht, warum nicht? Ja. The twist should be me, should it? It should be him standing in my shoes. It should be Kasuma. Was Kasuma-sama's wish? Did you follow him to Great Britain and work alongside him? Yes, I mean, I never had the chance to ask him exactly why, but he clearly had a plan. It wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for him. And you are doing wonderfully, Naruto-san. I have no doubt that Kasuma-sama would say exactly the same if he were here with us. Thank you, Naruto-san. Thank you. Ja. So, dann gehen wir mal sehen, wohin. Muss ich wirklich überall hin? Oh Mann. Aber erstmal zum Tatort. Gucken wir uns das mal an. The 2nd February, Mr. Natsume's lodgings, ground floor. Oh, hello again, Inspector Gregson. What are you doing here? Well, we were hoping to have another look around, actually. The lawyer representing the defendant has a right to examine the scene, as I'm sure you are aware. Yeah, I know the score. Oh, yes, one other thing. The soap on the ledge outside the window. Did you find it with the tea in it? Yeah, we found it alright. And there was a small amount of tea in it, as you said. I knew it. It's with the identification section in the yard now. They're looking into it. The result should be available later today. That's wonderful news. Thank you. Pretty impressive performance in court this morning. Sorry. Nothing, forget it. Just make sure you don't disturb anything in here. Hey. Keine Ahnung, was sollen wir sich denn hier untersuchen? Nicht viel. If you run out of change, you wouldn't even have any light, let alone heat. For the needy, London's winters can be very harsh. That's true, but if you think about it, even the wealthy would find themselves freezing if they ran out of small change. And those winters can be very harsh for the forgetful too, then. Frankly, I'm starting to wonder if Susato-san and I are going to make it to spring. Guten Abend, Kira! Ja, ich dachte, ihr werdet arbeiten, aber dann hat Sand gesagt, ja, es ist Sonntag und ich so, oh, stimmt. Ja, das Fenster. Es war nämlich so, dass in England damals Fenstersteuern betrieben worden sind. Das heißt, Menschen, die Fenster hatten, mussten extra Steuern zahlen. Deswegen haben die es einfach zugemauert. Aber in der Zeit gibt es die Steuern nicht, aber trotzdem wurde es noch nicht entfernt. Ja, Fenstersteuern. Weil, keine Ahnung, irgendwie muss das Geld da reinkommen. Was weiß ich. Ja, das ist weird. Deswegen haben sie einfach zugemauert und haben es einfach so behalten, obwohl diese Steuer nicht mehr existiert in der Zeit. Aber ja. Frankly, I'm starting to wonder if Susato-san and I are going to make it to spring. That's true. We don't even have a meter at Baker Street, let alone a gas stove. Ja, du kannst ja, also in China kannst du ja auch Luft aus Kanada kaufen. Ohne Mist. Ja, das ist Wahnsinn. Look how dark and stained the floor is underneath the meter here. Yes, from all the water dripping out after the ice coins melted. Established in court this morning. Very large and obvious stain, isn't it? Mr. Shakespeare must have used an awful lot of ice coins, I suppose. It was an ingenious idea, I will give him that. Stimmt, man muss hier auch Münzen einstecken, um Elektrizität und Wärme zu bekommen. Der Typ aber hat einfach in der gleichen Größe Eismünzen hergestellt und durch das Eis das hinbekommen und er musste nichts zahlen. Und das habe ich halt auch herausgefunden. In Flaschen, ja, ich weiß nicht, wie das genau gemacht wird, aber irgendwie so... Keine Ahnung, wie das genau... Ja, in Zukunft musst du bestimmt bezahlen, um Luft zu atmen. Wirklich so. Ja, vielleicht ist halt mit Wasser. Wasser müsste eigentlich auch für jeden da sein, aber naja. Ja. Das wäre heftig. It turns out that Mr. Shakespeare wasn't eating the soap at all. That's right, the mystery of why he had it on a plate was holding a fork in his hand is solved. Yes, to prise his latest ice coins out of its mold. And in the process, he accidentally broke the bar of soap in two. Nestle, ja genau. Ich wollte es nicht sagen, aber ja. Deswegen achte ich auch schon auf Verpackung. So gut es geht. Aber Nestle steht in so viel. Überall. Ja, Wasser, ja, muss man gucken, dass man das nicht irgendwo verkauft, wo wirklich Wasser lebensnotwendig ist. It was hard to imagine, let alone deduce. Also kommt immer drauf an. Die werden sogar noch unterstützt von gewissen Leuten. Aber gut. Look at this extravagant bright costumes. Ich weiß es nicht. Also es ist ja unsere Meinung. Aber es ist halt die Frage, was heißt das denn genau? Wie kann man dann... Was darf man schreiben, was nicht? Ich weiß es halt. Aber so politische Sachen, ich weiß nicht, ob man das hier einfach so drüber reden kann. Und einfach dabei belassen und einfach privat sich darüber unterhält. Hätte ich jetzt gesagt. Look at this extravagant bright costumes. Somehow they look out of place in this room with a scream shady goings on. This one looks like a king's attire. A king? Always dreamed of being a king? Oh, I think it would be more suited for a feudal lord, a daimyo, or such like. With a chonmage top knot, every Japanese man wishes he had a chonmage. Oh, you look wonderful with one, and you already have the sword. Can you imagine what would happen if I walked around the streets of London with a chonmage and a sword? War doch cool. Ist immer noch da, ne? Aber ich darf das nicht untersuchen. The sun never shines in this room, thanks to that depressing bricked-up window. And yet, with enough determination, you can always remove the bricks to set some soap inside, can't you? It sounds like a very wise life lesson, Mr. Sato. Only if you plan to follow a life of crime, Mr. Naruto. Ja. Oh, kann doch los. This is a gas wall light, isn't it? It must be connected to a gas pipe in the wall. Gas lights, a gas stove. London really is a city of gas. But now that I think about it, Mr. and Mrs. Gerichtsprozess had an open fire on the top floor, didn't they? Oh yes, you're right. I don't recall seeing a gas stove up there. Well, I much prefer a real fire anyway. It's so much easier, cozier. Ein Stück Gas oder Feuer, was ist lieber? This is some sort of makeshift stage, I think, isn't it? Where does the audience sit though for the nightly Shakespeare performances? Actors aspiring to the great stage must practice their art, Mr. Naruto, with or without an audience. And in fact, on a related note, perhaps you should set up a mock bench for the defense in your office. What? Then you could practice your art every single day. I will think about it, if you promise to don a beard and play the role of the judge. Well, if that would help you achieve your goal, this is I have to see. Genau, setzt sich ein Bart auf, macht einen Richter. Are you looking for new clues, Inspector? On Lord Van Zeek's orders? Yeah. Don't come back till you have got something for me, he says. So. Oh dear, poor you. Yeah, poor me, because we have already searched every bleeding nook and cranny in this place. I don't know what he expects, to be honest. Thank goodness for warm chips, is all I can say. Well, at least he's honest. No. sonst gibt es hier noch nichts. Ah, doch, hier. And there's not much on these shelves. It's there, just this wine glass and bottle. Genau, ich habe heute heute Morgen gestreamt, dann noch Nachhilfesachen für nächste Woche vorbereitet. Und ich gebe in der Nachhilfeschule noch ein bisschen Nachhilfe. In der Vierergruppe oder Dreiergruppe. Und dann ein bisschen was vorbereitet für morgen. Und habe mich dann ein bisschen, ja, dran gesetzt, was ich heute mache. Oder ein bisschen mich über das Streaming-Sachen immer angeguckt und so. Und bei euch so? Ein freier Tag. There's not much on these shelves, is there? Just this wine glass and bottle. And both of them are cracked. Yes, not much to use, are there? Geschlafen. Oh ja, warum nicht? Ich bin auch irgendwie zurzeit etwas müde. What's the matter? Oh, I was just reminded of the Reaper, that's all. Prosecutor Lon Van Seeks. Yes, he's so reckless with his wine glasses. I was thinking it's a waste and that he should donate some to the needy. You can suggest it next time we meet. Oh, stimmt. Das ist mies. Ja, das glaube ich. Das ist mies. Aber ich glaube auch, ein Netzteil ist halt wirklich eins der wichtigsten Sachen fürs PC. Für den PC und Laptop, naja, das war ein bisschen blöd. Ich habe auch noch was. Okay. Wenn du das so sagst. Ah, Strawberry. Okay, nice. On the 2nd February, Mr. and Mrs. Gerichtsprozess room. Mr. Gerichtsprozess appears to be out. Oh well, I suppose we'll just have to come back again later. Okay, hier gibt's nichts. Dann, Briar Road vielleicht? Wenn die 2nd February, Briar Road. Okay, ach stimmt, das kann ich vielleicht untersuchen. Ist da was? Ne, ich hab schon. Okay. Never mind. Nichts Wichtiges. Hospital. Oder erstmal schauen, Suite. Vielleicht hat er ja irgendwas rausgefunden. 2nd February, Sholmes Suite. Ah, Bruno and Susie. Hooray, you're back. Hello, Iris. You are in a fine spirit as always, I see. I am, and you look as immaculately presented as ever, Susie. Oh, you flatter me. Well, you couldn't have come at a better time. I just made a pot of tea. I will set some cups. Oh, really? Thanks, Iris. But actually... Wait for my thing. Egal. What is that foul smell? What? Aha! The wonders return at least. Where on earth have the pair of you been? We have been in Kurt. Oh, for Mr. Mustache's case. That was today, was it? I'm sure I mentioned it only yesterday, Mr. Sholmes. I'm sure you think you did. Well, we can laugh about it now. So tell me, how did the trial go? Reasonably well so far. We've managed to escape without a guilty verdict at least. Really? I would have liked to see it. And I must pass the time of day with Mr. Reaper again. It's been too long. Is Lord Van Seeks an acquaintance of Mr. Sholmes? Naturally, there's not a person in the world who doesn't know my name, Mr. Naruto. Not quite what I asked, but still. Mr. Sholmes, whatever is that odor? Yes, what is it? It's faint, but absolutely awful. Ah, indeed, that's a scent of victory, my dear fellows. Victory in science. Oh dear. Alright, I will bite. What's he up to now? Okay. Lord Van Seeks. Lord Barack once seeks. Yes, it's an interesting subject he has, isn't it? The Reaper of the Bailey. Once a legendary prosecutor has fought for someone's conviction, that person is doomed. Even if he or she is found not guilty by the courts, sooner or later, the helpless soul will vanish from the capital. But vanish how exactly? By falling under a passing carriage, or drowning in the Thames, or succumbing to a sudden fever, or, quite out of the blue, being set upon by a highwayman. There are numerous routes to one's final terminus, my dear fellow. All seems a little far-fetched, really. Well, on the bright side, Mr. Moustache is fighting fit, for the time being at least. That's not overly reassuring. If the rumors are true, though, the obvious conclusion would surely be those acquitted are, well, by Lord Van Seek's own hand. If it happens, Mr. Dodo, that's quite impossible. Oh, why? Naturally, the man very quickly came under such suspicion. Jump scare? Nehme ich mal an. Genau. Oh, ich weiß nicht, ob ich es jetzt erzählen soll oder das nächste Mal. Ich glaube, das nächste Mal, wenn wir mal ein Phasmo spielen, erzähle ich schon mal, was passiert ist, als ich mit dem Arbeitskollegen gespielt habe. Die Szene war so nice, ich habe es überlebt. Aber richtig knapp. Naturally, the man came under such suspicion. However, whenever this incident occurred, Reaper always had a cast iron alibi. Really? Ja genau, also zu Hause hat er nicht seine Jacke an. So sieht er ja gut aus. Ja. Aber macht ihn nicht schlauer. Nein. And so his reign continued, but 5 years ago, he vanished from the courts, never to appear as a prosecutor again. That is until you arrived in the country, Mr. Naruto. Vanished from the court, okay. Yes, so I've heard. Okay. In fact, it was the very day I arrived when I was thrust into that trial on the Old Bailey. Die Brille, weiß nicht, dass das so gut aussehen würde. Kommt drauf an. I bid a fight to the death, coincident with the Reaper's resurrection, and really did end bitterly indeed. Ja. Dann macht er seine Deduktion und ist dann richtig dumm dargestellt. Ja, vielleicht. Until you are facing Mr. Reaper again. Bruno, I don't know if you're just incredibly unlucky or incredibly unlikable. I think it goes deeper than just me. I sense a general loathing of all Japanese people. Japanese people? Oh no. With Mr. Natsume, who I'm currently defending, being Japanese, as well as Miss Sudato and myself, I felt it even more keenly in court today. For some reason, Lord Van Ziek seems to have an inherent disdain of the Japanese. Indeed, it is an interesting observation. Do you know something about it? Do you, Mr. Jones? It was about 10 years ago that Barack Van Ziek chose to enter the legal profession. However, before that time, the young man's closest companion hailed from the Empire of Japan. Oh, no. What? Tell us more, Mr. Sholmes. What happened? I believe I made it clear before. I'm unable to tell you anything about the affair. Oh, but... The veil will be lifted on the events of the past in due course, I have no doubt. For now, however, it is Mr. Moustache who is most deserving of your attention, I believe. Ja, aber erstmal, was ist dieser strenge Geruch? So, what is that indescribable foul smell? Ah, well, most probably this, I would say. What is that? My dear fellow, it is, of course, my latest invention. A chemical test that can identify whether or not a tea is genuine at the drop of some tea. Oh my... What? There are some unscrupulous sorts manning the stairs along some of London's less frequented streets. They regularly sell what purports to be high-quality tea, but is in fact merely dyed leaves of drab flavor. Well, that's certainly unsavory behavior. So when one is presented with that appears to be black tea, one must be careful, Iris. At the ready, Hurley. Just add a drop of my chemical to this cup of tea here. Do you see what happens? It turned completely black. And what a foul odor it's giving off. Indeed, the blacker the tea becomes and the more foul the odor, the better the tea is. It would appear that this cup was a practically fine Darjeeling. That's very ingenious, but what do you do with that black liquid now? Why, dispose of it naturally. Surely you wouldn't like to drink it, would you? There does seem to be a rather obvious problem with your new inventions, Mr. Sholmes. Hence why this chemical test is merely a test, my dear madam. Right. The point is, we are entertaining a new era of science, in the world of criminal investigation also. Yes, forensic science. Oh, these are such exciting times. I regularly engage in this scientific experimentation alongside my unofficial consulting detective work. The Sherlock Holmes method will be the foundation upon which modern investigative technique is based. This little tea indicates what a happy byproduct of any ongoing forensic science research. Forensic science. I suppose I should find out more about that. Forensic science. So your T-test, is that an example of forensic science? Indeed it is. An essential tool in case that hinges on the knowledge of whether some tea is of high or inferior quality. Not a huge number of cases then. Perhaps a more practical example is required. Fingerprints? Not yet accepted the number occurred as evidence, it might add. Really, we are dragging our heels there. I hadn't even heard of them until recently. Which is partly why I undertake research in this field myself, of course. Does that mean you are studying fingerprints, Mr. Jones? There are others in that field already, and I harbor the company of inferior minds. Now, what I'm researching is skin prints. Was Voice Mod hat jetzt Lofi-Musik drin. Das ist nice. Ja, hoffentlich gibt es da jetzt keine Probleme mehr. Skin prints. A nomenclature of my own design, as it is chemical agent that makes it possible. It instantly reveals object touched by whichever person is under investigation. Brilliant, Mr. Sholmes. As long as it doesn't turn everything completely odorous and black. I assure you, my dear fellows, you will witness my forensic talents in action, and very soon indeed. Okay. Well, I think we should go back to the scene and see if we can uncover any new clues. That's the spirit, we know. See you later. Yes, until later. No, Mr. Jones, we were thinking you would come with us. You... where? Ja, schon, gell? Und sie ist schlauer als Holmes, also bei so Deduktion. Auf jeden Fall. Yes, of course, you said you... So, just a moment ago, you said we would witness your forensic talents in action. Ah, yes, do you recall saying something along those lines? Die war 10, ja. Warte mal, kann ich doch, glaube ich, eben mal nachgucken. Da, 10. Und er ist 34. Ja. But you go ahead. I shall be sure to follow you later, in all likelihood. Probably, maybe. Well, I might... Also, wenn man Anime gesehen hat, ne, dann geht's da schon klar. Your commitment astounds me. Oh, thank you, Mr. Jones. We will actually await your arrival. Aber ich habe doch schon mal gehört, dass ein 14-Jähriger oder so ein Studium abgeschlossen hat. Ein schwieriges Studium. Das ist auch heftig. Bye bye Bruno, bye Susi. Gut, dann gehen wir mal. Gibt's da überhaupt was? Ja. Ja, wenn man das wirklich will und, keine Ahnung, manche Sachen sind auch wirklich angeboren. Ja. Naja. Und ich glaube, es macht auch viel mehr Spaß, wenn man es wirklich mag und nicht dafür gezwungen wird, es zu machen. Das ist auch komplett was anderes. Was? Also mich, oh, ich hab mich überlesen. Nein, also weil jeder hat seine Vorteile und Nachteile und Stärken und Schwächen. Man muss einfach nur das Richtige für sich finden. Mache ich ja auch gerade. Ich mache das, was mir Spaß macht und was ich auch wirklich machen möchte und hoffe, dass es auch klappt. 22nd February. St. Bartholomew's Hospital Recovery Ward. Do you suppose it's happening? Sounds like some sort of disturbance. Yes, I hear angry voices. Uh-oh. Be not angry, O ample lady, verily thou art mistaken. Und ich bin halt einfach schlecht, in so ein Englisch zu reden. Ich weiß nicht, wie man so reden kann. Mistaken, my food? You were looking at my painting. The eye of man hath no heard, the ear of man has not seen. 'Twas foul indeed, the poison that must touch willing gift me, forgive me, lady. I wish that you died from that poison. God of mercy, ample lady, but thou seest I've vigor still. Behold, my Shakespeare dance. Ich glaube, ich gehe einfach mal wieder. This looks rather ominous, doesn't it? Uh-oh. Ah, lo, this the lawyer from the land whence with the sun. How now? What are you doing here, Mr. Shakespeare? Mary, I do believe I'm returned onto another ward. He was looking, that's what he was doing, looking at my terrible work. Ja, pff, Alter, was ist mit dem Typ los, Mann? Is the fellow so darkly clad? Faith, thy work incurred this morning was wonderful. I do applaud thee. Oh, well, thank you. But, oh hey, that doesn't mean things will go so wonderfully for you tomorrow, does it? Das ist nicht echt. Okay. Anon Exon. Meine Schwäche, ich kann gar kein Französisch. Will ich auch nicht lernen. Ey, dieser Ausraster, Mann. Ja. Shakespeare might technically be the victim in this case, but there's definitely a lot more to it than that. It's very hard to pin the man down. I'm so sorry, I'm such an awful person. Miss Green, is everything alright? Yes, I mean, don't worry about me. They're about to discharge me, so I must get ready to leave now. I see. We're delighted that you will soon be well enough to go home, Miss Green. Oh dear, you're too kind. I don't deserve it. Kann man mit ihr noch reden. So, are you feeling more like yourself today, Miss Green? I am, thank you. I mean, people do recover from ordeals like this, don't they? You and people like me? Well, yes, it really was an ordeal, wasn't it? As far as I was concerned, I was just walking along in the snow one evening, minding my own businesses. And then, completely out of the blue, I was struck in the back by a knife and collapsed unconscious for days. Of course, when I finally woke up again yesterday, the whole business had been cleared up already. What a terrible week it's been for you. Oh no, I'm sure I'm really lucky, really. Oh, I will look back on this fondly. Really? Anyway, I must be getting my things together now, so I'm ready to be discharged. Ah, yes, of course, sorry to take up your time when you are busy. Dann gehen wir auf jeden Fall erstmal woanders hin. So. Da waren wir schon. Get up. Okay, dann ab ins Gefängnis. On the 2nd February, local prison, cell number 9. Oh, ist ja gar nicht da. Okay, dann gehe ich woanders hin. Vielleicht ist Gerrit wieder da. Nope. Okay. Tatort. Oh, da ist er doch. Das ist ganz schön schnell. Mr. Jones, what are you up to over there? What a question indeed. What is not your good self who asked me to attend the scene? Wait, what are you doing here, Sholmes? What are you up to over there? What are you doing here? Dear me, once a great detective, one is always under scrutiny, it seems. Is now the time, Mr. Jones? Are you about to show us your forensic talents in action as you promised? With the greatest of pleasure, my dear madam. Okay, dann zeig mal her. What's all this? All this is precisely what you requested, Mr. Naruto. Look, Sholmes, sensational skin print seeker gun. Moments ago, I took a sample from the teacup that was used by the victim. A sample from Mr. Shakespeare's cup. Each individual leaves microscopic secretions on everything he or she touches. A sample of those secretions is all I need to produce this, a refined indicator solution. By liberally spraying the room with this chemical, everything the victim touches is instantly revealed with the aid of those goggles. Here, try them on. Okay. There, now, spray the chemical indicator about and all will be revealed. Spray? How do I do that exactly? A little press of A on the area you are interested in is all that's required, like this. Ooh. What is that stuff? It's like fog. Ich glaube nicht. Ich habe eine... Also, wenn du gutes Bild haben willst, dann brauchst du halt eine gute Capture Card. Die Capture Card streamt halt nur das Bild auf deinem PC. Und über OBS habe ich halt die Einstellung, dass ich das Bild von der Capture Card nehme und es einfach hier in OBS projiziert wird. Also man braucht einfach nur eine gute Konsole, eine gute Capture Card für gute Qualität. Weil es gibt Capture Cards, die können dann nur 30 FPS haben, nur, keine Ahnung, 27p Auflösung. Da muss man halt genau gucken, was man haben möchte, was man kaufen kann, weil manche sind schon wirklich teuer. Da muss man sich auch wirklich darauf, ja, nochmal gucken, was am besten ist. Ich muss auch nochmal gucken, ob ich eine bessere finde. Aber momentan mit der, die ich habe, die läuft. Ich habe es halt vom Freund geschenkt bekommen, die hat 20, 30 Euro gekostet. Aber funktioniert. Also it's like fog. The suspension of the chemical indicator in a pressurized gas, it's the most efficient way to cover a large area. It was another invention I discovered incidentally whilst I was developing this idea. Yes, you do. Go ahead, try it, my dear fellow. We may learn something interesting about the victim's movements on the night in question. Well, there's nothing to lose, I suppose. Let's explore. Okay. Da. Also nicht berührt, okay. Oh, why? Ich sprühe das nur einmal und schon hier überall. Gar nicht, aber hier die Box, okay. Oh, why? Über das ganze Fenster. Okay. Vielleicht hier irgendwo? Oh, wow, look, there's a dozen of handprints here. So there are a great many indeed, so much so that it's hard to make out any one individual print, in fact. Sends a chill down my spine. Perhaps he was leaning against the wall while he admired this picture? Unlikely, I would say. It's a rather dull scene after all. And without wishing to state the obvious, you wouldn't generally admire a picture from such close quarters, I feel. Oh, very true, Mr. Sato. It's a bit of a mystery then. Vielleicht das Bild abhängen, gucken, was dahinter ist. So, gibt es hier noch was? Ich glaube nicht. Nee. Ich glaube nicht. Ich will auch nicht zurück. Hä? Ja, ich hab's schon. Schon klar. Ah, da am Boden. Ah, look at all this here. Ah, yes, interesting. A multitude of the victim's handprints. Why are there so many on them on the floor in this one spot? Oh, perhaps he had a bad fall just here? There's nothing obvious that he would have tripped over, though, is there? I wonder. Personally, I often stumble when there are nothing obvious to trip over. I think that's something only a great detective would do, Mr. Holmes. Well, this is quite a puzzle. Handprints all over the floor. Yes, there's no obvious explanation. Well, we sprayed Mr. Holmes' amazing skin print indicators all over this room, didn't we? We did, but there are two places in particular that are of interest, I would say. The handprint on the floor there, and on the wall by the picture, you mean? Yes, and I think the floor warrants close investigation. I won't be a moment. What is it, Mr. Toto? Look here, Mr. Novodo. One of the floorboards has popped out. One of the... You mean... the secret hiding place? Excellent work, Mr. Toto. So, what do we have in here? Oi, what are you lot doing? Inspector Craxton. Stand aside right this minute. It's my job to investigate here. No need, Inspector. You continue to dig to your portion of chips whilst we dig around under the floor here. You fancy talk's putting me off my food anyway, Sholmes. A new bite of evidence is exactly what I need. Okay. Wow, a secret hiding place under the floor. What a find. It's not a hiding place you could make use of in Japan. I don't think it could lift a straw to tie me mud. No, I know, but I never expected one of those wooden floorboards to move either. Got me wondering about the wall over there too, aren't you curious? Oh, I will investigate at once. Okay. There's nothing behind the picture, sadly. Only the wall. How disappointing. But then, how do you explain the handprints? Okay, bis gleich. I really can't think why anyone would have been touching the wall over and over in one place like that. Look. Uh-oh. What? There you are, a print for you. Ah. Okay. Oh, thank you very much. This invention can make prints too. Warum sind da so viele Handabdrücke? Now then. I wonder if Inspector Craxton has found anything under the floor there. I'm desperate to know. So I am. So, was findet er? Ernsthaft. Komm. Sag an, sag an. I'd love to know if there is anything hidden underneath that floorboard there. Tell me to ask Craxton now. After all, we are all acquainted. Inspector Craxton? Really? It's been too long. What is it, Sholmes? I thought perhaps you might show me what you have found there, seeing as we are so good friends. We are not friends. No, I suppose not. Oh man. A dismay failure. Yes, I heard. I would kill to know what was under that floorboard. Alright then, fair's fair. What? You did discover the hidden place after all? I suppose I should at least fill you in. Really, Inspector? Thank you. Do it quickly, my dear fellow. If there's one thing I know about this man, it's that the blows with the wind is fickle as the weather. Why will you stop making me out to be some kind of nut? There were 3 items under the floor there. A newspaper clipping, a photographic print, and a tin box. Now, what do you want to know? Alles. Okay. Looks like this was cut out of the paper about 3 months ago. It's about a convict who got sick and died while he was serving time up in Manchester. Oh, terrible. It made the headlines down here in London as well. The bloke had been sentenced to death, you see. But nature got him first. Oh my goodness, he committed a capital offense? Man by the name of Selden, a nasty piece of work into burglaries and murder. They say the hoard he'd knocked off was worth about £1,000. A hoard of treasure, you mean? Jewelry and the like, but he has hidden it somewhere and no one knows where. And now he is dead. Papers loved it, of course. £1,000 lost and roared to hell, or some such was the headline. Does it not strike you, though? Oh, die Fahrzeuge hier. Why such an article would be so carefully ensconced under the floor? I suppose now you mention it, it does seem a bit odd. Perhaps I will go over the paperwork we have got on, sell them back at the yard and see if I can turn anything up. Ja, ich habe sie schon gesagt. Also meine Meinung dazu und was ich dann so habe. Habe ich hier gesagt. Und sie ist kurz weg. Oder Lukas schon kurz weg. Ja. Newspaper article about Selden, a criminal sentence. Ich habe keine Ahnung. Ich habe es aus Versehen, weil ich kenne den Namen von beiden Seiten, deswegen ist mir dann so ausgerutscht. Newspaper article about Selden. Er weiß auch nicht. Naja. To receive the death penalty, however, he died of illness in prison whilst his loot remained undiscovered. Okay. Photographic print. So this is the photograph I found. Looks reasonable to be sent to me. Oh. Yes, it would appear to have been taken on the streets in front of the house here. And the gentleman on the left is Mr. Gerichtsprozess, the landlord, of course. But who's the young man on the right? Mr. Gerichtsprozess' son, perhaps? Perhaps. You can take the print if you like. Really? Are you sure? I can presume, therefore, that the yard already knows. The identity of the young fellow, that is. Is that true? Well, it's too bad if we do. Unfortunately for you, Lord, leaking information isn't one of my pastimes. Ja, alles gut. My dear Inspector, if I may be so bold as to point something out. Pastimes are for one's leisure, but this is for work. All the more reason I'm not telling you. That is my failure. Yes, I heard. I wonder why a photograph like this was hidden under the floor. I mean, Mr. Shamesby himself, isn't it? Photographic prints are still rare treasures in the East End. I imagine Mr. Gerichtsprozess was rather delighted to have been immortalized. He probably made a proud present of it. Oh, fuck man. Tin box. Now this tin box looks interesting, doesn't it? Might I suggest, Inspector, that you open it, if you were to find something inside that reveals the truth behind this case. I wouldn't be in the least surprised. Yeah, funnily enough, I've already had a look. It's completely empty. What? Shakespeare? Give us a clue, man! You didn't even have the chance to utter a word, Mr. Naruto. But anyway, at least we have found out what's inside the box. Yes, thin air. It's empty, but I like how I feel inside. Is there nothing more to this box than I wonder? Miau. Wo kommst du denn her? Look, it's that lovely little kitty cat. What was its name? It's Mr. Natsume, isn't it? I'm back, hi. Oh, so. I don't think we ever asked him, actually. Why don't we call it, Wagahai? You know, like Mr. Natsume refers to himself in Japanese. Wonder how he got in here, clever cat. Oh, wonderful. Well then, Wagahai. Here's something delicious I bought for you from the cat's meat man. Oh. Ah. He couldn't be happier now. Look. Just hope you can bring some happiness to its owner too. Yeah. Oh, guck. Oh Mann, ey. Ja, von da. Aber ich kann das halt leider nicht untersuchen. Schade. Egal, ich habe jetzt ein bisschen Beweise. Ich kann vielleicht andere Sachen untersuchen. Ist der Gary wieder da? Oder auch nicht. Ich kann ja auch nichts präsenten, ist das schade. So, außer wenn ich das vielleicht untersuche. Ne, habe ich schon. Dann geht das nicht. Auch niemand, also muss ich doch noch was hier. Hast du natürlich untersucht? Ah, the ill-fated teacups from which the two men drank on the ill-fated night. During the heated literary debate, yes. Who's stronger, Romeo or Juliet? It sounds like it was quite a discussion. Oh, I think of it, I'm sure that the two lovers in the play ended their lives with poison. That's fiction, Mr. Dado. Let's hope it stays that way. Oh, what's a cheeky little meow, guy. Oh, das war's. Oh, but he's so adorable. I couldn't sit and watch him forever. I think he may not appreciate that after a while, and we have an investigation to get back out to. Ah ja. Hier gibt's halt sonst nichts. Gut, dann gucke ich mich nochmal woanders um. We get the household and Mr. Optimus Logics. I'm in a prominent position here in the corner. Sometimes when I look at the building I can't help feeling that this is a bit of a slant. It doesn't really look as though it would collapse in even the smallest earthquakes, doesn't it? And isn't it supposed to be haunted as well? I think I might have been asked to why Suzuki-san has such a hunched back. Mal sehen. Ich kann gerade nirgendwo hin. Nee, weiß auch nicht mehr. Nee, da war ich doch schon, oder? Ja. Auch nichts Neues. Außer, warte mal, kann ich vielleicht versuchen, oder? Nee. Aber ich weiß, hier ist das Bild von diesem einen. Müsste sie ihn ja eigentlich kennen. Aber ich kann sie nicht dazu befragen anscheinend. Schade. Ich bin von hierher gekommen. Oh. Okay, ich stecke gerade fest. Er ist gefragt. Auch niemandem irgendetwas präsentieren. Nö, ich steck grad fest. Ich weiß nicht, was ich machen kann. Das ist klasse. Oh no. Ich weiß nicht, was ich machen will, aber ich darf das anscheinend. Nicht gut. I shouldn't poke around and wild miserabilities out. Doch. Oh, erst recht. Nee, hier darf ich auf jeden Fall nicht untersuchen. Gut. Ich will einfach mal alles untersuchen und gucken, was ich hier finde. There always seemed to be a bicycle outside the Gerichtsprozess residence. I read the bicycles are extremely popular all over Great Britain at the moment, in fact. That one seems to be robbed though, especially the front wheel. Look to make it more of tradition to ride, do you think? I'm afraid it might be a sort of the rider's incompetence. And for the front wheel to be badly robbed, I'm afraid the rider may have been similarly afflicted. Then there's a good chance Mr. Notsumi has been practicing on his bicycle, I think. Oh dear, I feel you may be right. Ich muss echt nachgucken, wo ich was machen kann. So. Gut. Eigentlich will ich nicht selbst nachgucken, was ich machen soll. Aber ich habe das Gefühl, ich muss. Moment. Da anders gemacht. Wie ich das sehe, ich denke ich hier weiter. Aber nö. Aber anscheinend ja nicht. Okay. Habe ich alles gemacht, was zu machen ist, und trotzdem geht es nicht weiter. Da habe ich eine winzig kleine Sache vergessen. Die Box haben wir auf jeden Fall nicht bekommen. Würde ich auch nicht untersuchen. Was? Okay. Warte, was? Okay, wenn ich mit dir reden muss, okay. Vielleicht klappt das ja. It was a shock early today, wasn't it? When the victim himself turned up in the crowd and took the stand. I know. Not only that, but then finding out that he is actually a bare-faced gas thief as well. Yes, that was certainly a surprise to us all. For a while, it seemed as though everyone had quite forgotten about Tsurugi-san poisoning the team. Careful of your pressing, Tsurugi-san. He didn't poison anything. And there's more to this Miss Shamespeare than we yet know, I'm sure of it. Mr. Shamespeare certainly wasn't the noble, upstanding man everyone thought he was at first. What's become of him, actually? I was told that he'd be returning to the hospital ward where he was receiving treatment. Ah, which one is that? Let me see. Ah, yes. Here, at San Bartolomeo's, or Bart's, as Londoners call it. You know that place, don't we? Yes, we visited Miss Queen there yesterday. The same hospital to which she was taken. Ah, yes, after Sasaki-san stabbed her in the back. To be careful of your phrasing, Naruto-san. He didn't stab anyone. Perhaps we both owe Sasaki-san an apology. Bartolomeos. Yes, we should probably visit the hospital later. What's next? So we know that Sasaki-san took tea to the victim on the night in question. But as he isn't the culprit, then obviously... Yes, the poison surely wasn't in the tea. But if that's the case... How on earth did the poison get into Mr. Shakespeare's body? I'm sure if we find a clue at the scene. There must be something in Mr. Shakespeare's room that will help solve the mystery. Well, naturally, Scotland Yard detectives have been all over the place already. But it couldn't hurt for us to have another look around, I think. Definitely. And I'm desperate to know the outcome of the investigation into the tea left in the bar of soap. Well, if we run into Inspector Gregson, we could ask him about that. Reicht das? Nein. Okay. Das ist komisch. Oh, what? Okay, warte, hä? Ich habe mit ihm schon mal drüber gesprochen, aber jetzt, wo es abgehakt ist, muss ich nochmal mit ihm drüber sprechen. Gut zu wissen, dass man das kann. Thank you for this photograph, Inspector. Yes, taken outside this very building, it would seem. The young man on the right is... exactly. Every single time, Sunshine. Like I said, leaking information isn't one of my pastimes. My dear Inspector, if I may be bold as to point something out, information exists for the very purpose of being leaked. Not in my book, it doesn't. I rather think it's not in my book either, in truth. I don't even have a book. I suppose we will have to try to find out for ourselves. Okay, obwohl es abgehakt ist, muss ich nochmal mit ihm drehen. Okay. Hätte ich das denn wissen sollen? Jetzt sollte ich aber das machen können. Oder auch nicht. Ah, nee, warte. Dann vielleicht Garrett Depp? Nein, ich check's gerade nicht. Wenn ich jetzt hier feststecke, dann müsste ich alles noch von vorn machen. Das wäre nicht so nice. Okay, einen Moment. Ich werde es anders machen. Denn es gibt die Möglichkeit, einen Story-Mode einzustellen, der das Spiel automatisch laufen lässt. Und ich will wissen, was da nicht ging. Ich weiß nicht, ob das hier ist oder man das Menü machen muss. Ah, hier, Story Mode on. Okay, zeig mal, was habe ich verpasst. Oder auch nicht. Ich bin mal kurz zurück. Ja, ich habe gespeichert. Oh, es wäre jetzt ärgerlich, wenn ich das jetzt nicht irgendwie hinbekomme. Story Mode, ah hier. Oh, muss ich doch mit ihr komplett reden? Was? Okay. Ich musste halt am Anfang nie mit ihr reden. Jetzt muss ich es auf einmal. Kazuma Sogi, the best friend I ever had. And a lawyer with such promise. You really saved my bacon in that horrible incident just before we left Japan. I can still picture him now, looking so fierce and determined and curt. And then after the trial, that crazy idea he came up with. Is this doorway? Yes, you can fit inside my trunk if you're curled up small enough, I'm sure. No one will know. Kazuma, won't you tell me why? Why go to this length so that I can accompany you to Great Britain? Well, it's been on my mind ever since we got through the trial that you really ought to go into law, be a defense lawyer. You have got natural talent for it, believe me. I guarantee it. And I never even thought about becoming a lawyer. Well, I can't force you, obviously. You will have to decide for yourself. But anyway, London is the cultural capital of the world, the city at the forefront of everything. It can't hurt for you to see it with your own eyes. No, that's true. I suppose, though, if you were to become a lawyer, then one day... One day, what? Oh, no. Never mind. Naruhodo-san? Oh, sorry, I was just thinking about Kazuma. Yes, he's forever in my thoughts too. Change the Japanese judicial system for the better, that was his dream. That's why he so desperately wanted to come to Great Britain to study, of course. Yes, that's right, but... Yes? I do wonder if its true intentions lay elsewhere sometimes. I don't know, the thought just takes hold of me every now and then, that's all. Oh... Okay. Naruto-san, what do you mean by Kazuma-sama's true intentions? I mean, this. His katana? I never expected to inherit his sword after Kazuma passed away, of course. No, I know. It was because I asked you to take it. When I have it at my side in court, I feel as though it gives me courage. Yes. Actually, the night before he died, he told me a little about the sword. Karuma? That's right. It's a prized sword that's been passed down the generations of the Asogi clan. A Japanese man's sword is his soul, Rinosuke. I can't be parted from my katana. Ja, alles gut. Ich war gerade echt ein bisschen verwirrt, was überhaupt gefehlt hat und so. Echt ätzend. Morgen Nachhilfe geben und Freeman. Roma guides me. I truly believe that. So its name compares its wielder to slice evil in two. Not that you would need much compelling. On that subject, there's something very important that I have to do in Great Britain. Something you have to do? Yes. I appreciate you seeing it through with me. Of course I will. Whatever it is, I will see it through the end with you. I knew you wouldn't let me down. What did he mean by something very important that I have to do? I had hoped that the answer to the question would become apparent when he arrived here, but yet I've not found a single clue. I see. So, wenn das jetzt funktioniert. Ernsthaft? Okay. Jetzt ist okay. 22nd February, local person cell 9. Oh, Mr. Natsume is back. Oh, he is. Mr. Natsume, hello. I'm a cat. Sorry. I don't know who Mr. Natsume is, or Herlock Sholmes. I don't know about courts or trials or Old Baileys. I'm a cat. That's what I am. As a cat. So Naruto, he's trying to escape from reality. Trying to? He already has. Completely. So, what's your name then? As yet I have no name. Oh, wow. Mr. Naruto, he hasn't fully thought out his new identity yet. Maybe it's not too late to bring him back to reality. Do you think you could open your eyes for us, Mr. Natsume? I'm not a cat. Warte, das mal kurz hier wieder abschalten. Right, he's back in the real world. What's going to become of me? No. Don't answer that. It's obvious. My accursed soul is never going to escape this accursed fate. Mr. Natsume, no. This morning's proceedings in court prove that there's hope. Yes, locum student Mr. Naruto Squire was prudent, but the Reaper is omnipresent in court, in my lodgings. Here, there, everywhere. What's he looking straight at me for? I think perhaps there are some things we should discuss. Oh, yes, we must. Morning's trial. My whole life I ever been so moved as what it was today? No. Of course, if I cast my mind back, there were perhaps one or two other occasions that moved me more. But if I just blocked those out, then today, being in that courtroom was the most moving experience of my life, locum student Mr. Naruto Squire. You're too kind. Scotland Yard found the remaining teeth just as we deducted and are analyzing it as we speak. There's nothing wrong with the tea. They won't find a drop of poison in it. That's all. That's a solemn society certainty. Okay. Tell me, did you both drink the tea at the same time that night? Oh yes, most definitely. Remember, drink the tea while it's hot. We both poured it down our throats like it was hot bath for our bellies. The time you were both completely fine. Shown by the fact that he and Mr. Shamesby then engaged in the Romeo and Juliet match, suppose the focus on tomorrow's proceedings will be how the poison was taken by the victim then. That rotten Shakespeare, what have I ever done to him? You don't recall him taking issue with you about anything you have done recently? I've been holed up in my room, immersed in books. I don't recall anything. Anything at all. Right. But what I don't understand is why he didn't let me know sooner. Let you know what, Mr. Natsume? About the soap, of course, what else? Oh dear. Are you struggling with such a murderous student? Of course I am. If I had money, I wouldn't have chosen to live in accursed existence in such accursed lodgings. Ah, yes, you said it because the place it's cursed, it's so cheap, didn't you? Exactly, especially the room that I rent. The spirit of the capital offender who lived there still haunts the place. And it's trying to kill me. A capital offender. Did I ask Locum student Mr. Note Esquire that the next time you visit me, you bring scores of super soft soaps? Ihr könnt aber auch übrigens gerade nicht zeigen. Dann gehe ich einfach wieder. Ist er wird wieder da. Und nein, ist er nicht. Ich zeige euch ja wieder mal ein paar Sachen oder so. Was kann ich denn präsenten? Mr. Natsume, it's nothing much, but okay. Ist kein guter Beweis zum Vorzeigen. What's this? It's a newspaper cutting that we found in Mr. Shakespeare's room. So he knew, did he? Sorry. About this man, Sheldon. The convinced killer and the evil spirit behind the curse that afflicts my lodgings. Oh, what? What? He's already taken a young man's life and now he's trying to take the life of another miserable, mustached, much maligned Japanese man. It's not so if you know something, please, you must tell us. Tell us everything you can about this evil spirit. The truth is, I didn't know the details myself until very recently. That Sheldon man was arrested about a year ago now, and at the time he was hiding out in lodgings at Mr. Gerichtsprozess' house. What? He lived where you do now? That's right, yes, exactly where I live now, in my very room. Oh my, your room is previously occupied by a criminal found guilty of a capital offense? But therefore his sentence could be carried out. He died in the prison, that was 3 months ago now. And that's when I started the curse. What really is this curse you keep mentioning, Miss Natsume? Already cursed one death a few months after the criminal passed away in prison. A man died in the room. The man who rented it after Sheldon, in fact. The pure lodger, he was found dead in mysterious circumstances. The room was locked from the inside. Locked from the inside? Exactly like the case we're dealing with now. So that's the convict curse, is it? Yes, well, that was the start of it. Ja, arbeiten, ja. Kann man nichts machen. Nee, kein Stress. Ich bin gerade eh nur am Vorlesen und so. Das Spannende kommt eh erst später. Also, ihr streamt doch heute noch, oder wie ist es bei euch eigentlich? Well, that was the start of it. Ah, okay, dann später erst. Do you have any idea how the lodger before you pass away, Miss Natsume? The official cause of death was asphyxia. Asphyxia, Aua. Ja, okay, dann hoffe ich mal auch, dass es funktioniert. When they discovered the body, the room was full of gas. Gas? I only found that out after I signed the lease. When Mr. Gerichtsprozess came to tell me later, I couldn't stop myself trembling. In fact, if I'd known beforehand, I would probably even been so scared to take the room. Landlord's lease, luckily legal. Lucky for Mr. Gerichtsprozess maybe, but not as lucky for poor Mr. Natsume. And now you believe this curse is affecting you? It is. At first, I felt as though I thought I was being watched all the time. And then you talked about having nightmares, didn't you? The dead are trying to take me with them. They come for me and try to suffocate me. Just when I'm struggling to breathe, I wake up. And then the room is so cold as ice. But why is your room so cold? London's winters are too cold to be without any heating and overnight. But for some reason, even though I light the stove before you climb into the bed at night, the pillared light always goes out and the room fills with gas. But that's terrible. It's exactly the same situation and what led to the previous concubine death. Then there's what happened to Mr. Shamesby last night when he was mysteriously poisoned. Really more than that incident that can be explained by curse though. There can be curse of the strange happenings in Mr. Gerichtsprozess' rooms. Da müssen wir mal ein Wort mit Mr. Gerichtsprozess reden. Er sollte jetzt doch da sein. Yep. 22nd February, Mr. and Mrs. Gerichtsprozess room. Ah, you're here now, Mr. Gerichtsprozess. Right, belly business is for me, you know. Getting out and about. Were you at the Old Bailey's by any chance? Naturally, fate of my lodgings hanging in the balance and all that, not a trial to miss. Fate of what's already been dubbed your haunted lodgings, yes. Of course, the place has caused quite a stir around the capital on more than one occasion already. As the one haunted lodgings, or some such. Ah, well, at least he knows. Makes you wonder what the blaze is going on, don't you know? Yes, I'm sure it does. In fact, thinking back to Mr. Natsume's other trial just 2 days ago, you were at the Old Bailey then as well, weren't you? Testifying with your wife about what happened? Stopped off at the prison on the way home, in fact. Basically business. See. So what brings you to my haunted abode today, huh? Mit dir reden. Some fishy fellow from the Far East and a failed actor chap of questionable character, huh? Yes, the house does seem to have become something of a magnet for rum fellows of late. Thanks to that belly curse. The convict curse, you mean? Ah, heard the stories, have you? Rotten scoundrel was arrested here, then the next chap, and then the room goes and keys over. Then there was that woman who dropped dead just outside in the street, not to mention the actor yesterday. Am I next, huh? Well, can't tell, but get the collie wobbles, can you? When you say the woman who dropped dead outside in the street, do you mean Miss Green? Because Miss Green, who was stabbed by the knife, and Mr. Shakespeare, who was poisoned last night, are both very much alive still. Yes, well, so it's the blessed comic's curse, it seems. Personally, I should be quite content with such lodgings. A bath, a toilet, a fireplace, a fascinating history. Why? It sounds like the lab of luxury. I'm not so sure about that. Well, there's no bath or toilet included, and no fireplace either. But you do look out for your tenants, don't you? Watching the rise and fall of the flames in your gas lamps up there? Yes, never hurts to keep an eye on things, in case there are any mishaps or such like. Think you have had your mishap already, sir? That's not helpful, Mr. Sholmes. Heaven forgive me, the words just came to my lips. Ah, yeah. Some fishy fellow from the Far East and a failed actor. Oh, warte mal, ups. There's no need for that, Mr. Goldep. That's right, Mr. Natsume. No way fishy. He is undeniable peculiar, however. Is it right that he took the vacancy immediately after the previous tenant passed away? Yes, that's right. I asked the estate agent to find someone and he popped up at the very same day. Never come across a chap too keen for a place with a background, as it were. I don't think it was the room's background he was keen on so much as his cheap rent, actually. So, how long has Mr. Shakespeare been lodging under your roof? That failed actor chap? Let me see. Of course. Yes, it's been 3 months now, quite sure of it. Only 3 months? It's quite new here too, then. And to what do you owe your certainty in that regard, Mr. Goldep, if I might ask? Well, it was that Selden scoundrel, as it happens. Selden? The convict, you mean? Do Selden and Shakespeare have some kind of connection then? That convict chap, Selden, passed away in the clinic 3 months ago now, you see. Some malady or other. Yes, we have seen the report from the newspaper at the time. Well, it was only 3 days later that the tragedian shows his face, the actor fellow. Really? Yes, I remember it quite distinctly. This small, this world we inhabit. With the landlord, hear my request. I, the humble Shakespeare, do desire to take the room on the middle floor offered erewhile for rent. Terribly sorry and whatnot, but that won't be possible. Although I have a lodge on the middle floor, ground floor rooms vacant though. Nothing can be made out of nothing. Let me repeat mine will unto thee. Those curse must be muffing your ears. The room on the middle floor is taken. It's ground floor or nothing. Very well, we have an accord. Glad to hear it. Welcome to prayer. No, a Shakespeare dance to celebrate. 9. Einfach nur. Nein. From what I heard in court today, sounds like the chap was thieving gas. And he was 3 months in arrears with the rent too. Yes, the fellow was a belly player, right? Thank you for your candor, Mr. Goldep. We are most grateful. By way of preparation, allow me to say 1 or 2 words. Give me my rope, put on my crown. I have immortal longings in me. What's happened to you? Shakespeare, my dear fellow, one of his most famous lines. I wish to divide my own learning of the subject, for I have a turn for literature too, you know. Perhaps you could turn your attention to more apt lines then? No? Vielleicht? Okay, present. Das. Mr. Goldep, could I ask you to look at this photograph? Is it your son who was with you there? No, not at all. He was lodger here once. Duncan Ross was his name. No, Duncan Ross. A street photographer happened to be passing, so I asked him to take a shot. Not just for kicks, really. Was he by any chance lodger before Mr. Natsume? Yes, that's right. Ah, the young gentleman who died in the room in mysterious circumstances. Just what Mr. Mustache was waiting for, one might say. Yes, young Duncan lived in the room at the top of the first flight of stairs before that Japanese chap. Would you mind telling us a little more about him? Yes, Duncan Ross, young chap, was attending art school, had to work to pay for it, mind. Moved into the middle floor around a room about a year ago, after the criminal Selden was arrested. Young students are always on the hunt for rooms with a history behind them. History of a cheap rent, maybe? Yes. Yes, well, anyway, it was one morning about a month ago now. I hadn't quite worked out the old trick of watching the gas lamps to see what my lodgers are up to at the time. So sadly, I was rather tardy to discover what had happened. My love gasped alerted me it was. Ah yes, synonymous with the smell of death. Called the police straight away, of course, and the officer kicked the door off its hinges. But once we got inside, we all badly collapsed. Because of the gas? Yes, room was full of it, no air at all. The stove must have gone out while the poor chap was sleeping in his bed. Mr. Ross suffocated to death. Of course, the police gave me a sound sticking off because the gas pipes were so old and all that. I can't tell you how much it set me back to have the lot replaced all over the house. But even after you had all that work done, Miss Natsume says the same thing. That the stove goes out at night while she is asleep in bed. Well, that's the badly cursed, the convict curse. I've done my duty as a landlord now. Almost feeling defensive. Ah, that reminds me actually. Yes. About young Duncan the night before the poor chap perished. He'd been writing a letter of affection to a young lady. A love letter, you mean? Yes. Where did I put it now? Ah, here it is. Left it on my desk. You will excuse me? And let me see now. What does it say? My most beautiful and charming sweetheart. Do you think it was so you should be reading such a personal piece of correspondence? My dear Miss Susato, that is a precise what I prefaced my reading with, if you will excuse me. I will not excuse you, Mr. Jones, no. Sadly, he didn't address it, though. So I have no means of delivering the thing, with that, really. I see, that's going to play on my mind. But really, the identity of Miss Ross, sweetheart, has no bearing on the case. I think we should leave well alone. Yes, I suppose you are right. Indeed, the intended receptionist address is missing. However, there is a name attributed to the man's most beautiful and charming sweetheart. Mr. Sholmes, please, I've already had to justice you about this once. My undying love to you, my colorful darling Olive Green. Oh, Olive Green? The woman who was plunged into a coma after a knife plunged into her back out of the house 5 days ago. The victim of the last case Suzuki-san was in court for, who regained consciousness only yesterday. It is just chance that her name has come up now? Could it possibly be a mere coincidence? Mr. Naruto, whatever can this mean? Reading personal correspondence can have its merits, you see, Mr. Naruto. Okay. Move to Krankenhaus. Mach mal die nächste Flasche mal auf. So. Naruto, I've just finished speaking with the doctor. Seems Miss Green is well enough to be discharged at last. This is good news, but hopefully just before she leaves... What is it? Miss Green? What was that? She clearly had just hide something behind her back. Oh, one moment, I will be with you in a jiffy. Okay. Hello everyone, what are you all doing here? Doctor has said I can be discharged, so I'm just getting my things together. Das sah nicht gerade so aus. Miss Green, what are you just doing? Nothing, really. I was just about to take some medicine the doctor prescribed for me, that's all. Well, we are hoping to have another quick chat with you, if that's alright. I don't really have anything else to tell you. Alright, she's definitely behaving strangely. Let's see if we can coax something out of her. Dann... Miss Green, we were hoping to ask you about someone. Mr. Duncan Ross. You knew him, didn't you? Oh, what? Oh no, I'm so sorry. The bottle of medicine fell down when she did. Miss Green, are you alright? I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to startle you like that. No, it's alright. I just wasn't expecting it. But how do you know about Duncan? Mr. Ross had been writing a letter when he passed away. The landlord found it in his room. It was a very personal letter to you. It was at the art school. That's where I met Duncan a year ago now. He was working to fund his studies. He dreamed of becoming a professional artist one day. Do a few become romantically involved? Yes, that's right. We were very much in love. We were engaged to be married, actually. That's why he decided to move into a cheaper room to save money for the wedding. That's what led him to Mr. Gerichtsprozess. Yes, he told me he would find the worst but cheapest room in the entire East End. And then, 1 month ago, that's when it happened. We are so terribly sorry, Miss Green. Well, all in the past now, I suppose. Poor Miss Green. She looks desperately sad. I was starting to think that just her look. But now I see that she has every reason to feel the universe is against her. Yeah. It's wonderful news that you are going to be discharged, Miss Green. Ah, yes, I mean, thank you. Once people are better, the hospital staff don't want them lingering in wasting space, not people like me anyway. So I don't think I should keep anyone waiting. I probably shouldn't stand around and chat. He certainly doesn't seem to be in the mood to talk, that's for sure. I do hope you won't think I'm being rude, but... Would you mind leaving me in peace now? I have to leave the hospital soon. Oh, I'm sorry, we didn't mean to hold you up. Of course, we will be on our... Mr. Naruto? Surely you were not about to leave? That's quite out of the question. What? Mr. Sholmes? I didn't realize you were here. But of course I was, my dear fellow, watching intently from the shadows of as always. Well, make your presence known next time. Mr. Sholmes? What's this about? Something which occurs to me with some regularity, Mr. Naruto, is this. Why do detectives insist on such an ex post facto modus operandi? Why solve a case after it's happened? Instead of preventing a case before it happens, that is what sets a great detective apart. What do you mean? There is a case waiting to happen under our very noses, Mr. Naruto. Let us avert disaster, let us prevent this case from ever happening. With nothing but careful observations. Alright. All the clues you need are set before you. You need only look, and you cannot fail to see. You can do it, Mr. Naruto. I know you can. Okay. Oh, die Maus ist ja tot. That mouse seems to be dead. Look, I didn't notice it there before, did it? Did you? I think perhaps that drank the medicine that spilled out of the bottle. But that's the bottle that Miss Green was able to drink from when we arrived. You don't think... I see you have come to appreciate the true nature of the scene. That of a tragedy about to take place. Yes, I think it's falling into place. Miss Green, the contents of the bottle you had before has spilled out on the floor, and the poor mouse that drank it has sadly died. I think it's clear that the bottle must have contained a powerful poison. Don't worry, I will attend to the mouse presently. Miss Green, were you intending to go the same way as that rodent? To take your own life? Once we had left, you would have put it to your lips again, wouldn't you? And taken the poison? No! Miss Green, please talk to us. I definitely feel as though this card must be relevant. I mean, when we first arrived, Miss Green was standing with it in her hand in what can only be described as a very tense atmosphere. Yes, it might very well be related to whatever incident Mr. Sholmes believes was about to happen here. Perhaps we should ask Miss Green about it. Ten seconds later, and we would have arrived at a very different scene here. In all probability, we would not have enjoyed this most delightful conversation. Of course, perhaps it wasn't being quite so delightful from your perspective, Miss Green. Actually, in a way, now that everything out in the open, I feel like a weight has been lifted. Tell me, how did you acquire that medicine? Well, with this being a hospital and all, when the doctor comes to examine me in the mornings, he always leaves the medicine cabinet open for a while, so I snuck this out and when he wasn't looking. It's conspicuously lacks a label. I wonder what it contains. I'm afraid I don't really know. But I thought if I drank it, it must just stop the pain somehow. Okay. Oh, please, Miss Green, don't talk of such things. Well, it seems clear now that it contains poison. Yes, that poor little mouse is proof of that. Oh no, oh, it's my fault. What have I done? Shall we move this to my office, Miss Green, and take it to you have no objection? No, none. Neither the sender names nor or address appear to be written on the envelope or the card. They arrived by post at my home the day before the incident that put me in the hospital here. I have information regarding the death of Duncan Rose. Come to the Slug and Salad on Barry Road at 5 PM on 17th. Don't tell anybody else about this letter or the meeting. It is all a matter of utmost importance. Wait a minute, the 17th of this month? That's the day you were stabbed on Barry Road? At 5 PM is precisely the time when the incident occurred. The Slug and Salad, yes. A pub on the northern corner of Briar Road. Briar Road, being the street that Mr. Galloway's house is on? Does this mean that... Yes, I'm sure you have guessed that day when I was struck in the back in my by the knife. I was actually on my way to the Slug and Salad. Goodness. That's what you were doing on Bray Road that day. Sorry, I didn't say anything before. I think I really will have to ask you to excuse me now. I've told you everything. Yes, very sorry to have had to drag up such painful memories for you. No, it's fine. Green. Please, promise us you won't try to do anything like that again. Yes, don't worry. Your detective friend has the bottle now anyway. And besides, I've been stabbed in the back and had a close shave with a bottle of poison. And I'm still here. I think I'm destined to see things through to the end. It might sound a little conceited, but well, that's how all this has made me feel. Leaving Miss Green and San Bartolomeo behind, we made our way back to Baker Street with Mr. Shops. Well, it would appear we have reached the end of the investigation trial for today. Yes, it's late. And Mr. Naruto, did you discover anything that may be of use to you in court tomorrow, do you think? Details about Mr. Shakespeare, Mr. Garrideb's lodgings, the convicted Sheldon. There are many facets to this case and we are yet to see the heart of it, if you ask me. My feeling anyway. I can't help wondering about the results of the analysis. The Miss Anatomist tea, you mean? Yes, will they have found strychnine in it or not? Well, I fear that either way, it will be hard to escape the grip of our friend Mr. Reaper. Oh dear. Yes, Barrel 1-6. But I wish you every success, of course, and though I was late to rise the morning, tomorrow will be a new dawn. I intend to spring from my bed at the crisp hour and attend the trial. Mr. Sholmes, you are going to come? Indeed, whatever happens, I shall be there, assuming my eyelids cooperate in the morning. Well, I think we have done all we can. All that's left is to remain focused and keep fighting for Miss Natsume's cause until the very end. Ah, yes. London, the world's most prosperous city, home to some 6 million people. But away from the wrestle-dazzle, down back alleys and behind bricked-up windows of the lonely lurk, Suzuki-san had battled long and hard with loneliness during this many months here. And so I felt honored bound to battle equally hard for my compatriot, to lift the curse that gripped him. As Mr. Sholmes said, tomorrow would be a new dawn for all of us. We continued. Save. So. Ich werde jetzt auf jeden Fall mal 20 Minuten Pause machen, den Tisch anheben und dann ein bisschen im Stehen weiterspielen. Genau, bin gleich wieder da. Dann kann es weitergehen. Gerichtsfall. Oh. The 3rd February, 9:23 a.m. The Old Bailey, London, and Chamber. Uh-oh. Hi. This is then, Mr. Naruto. Yes, it's time to put an end to this now. Oh. No. The miserable curse that has been plugged Mr. Natsume to everything. In my own small way, I shall do everything I can to help you. I always appreciate your help, Mr. Sato. Interfering, Sasaki selfishly sidelined. Good morning to you too, Mr. Natsume. Good morning. Good morning, locum student Mr. Naruto Squire. Listen to you two, chatting away happily as if the main player of today's trial isn't here. Why would you do that? Why? Oh dear, we didn't mean to cause offense, Mr. Natsume. I thought perhaps that because you had your eyes shut so tightly you were meditating, finding inner calm. That seemed wrong to disturb you. I was waiting. What's the matter, Miss Natsume? You seem different somehow today. Why, naturally, that's because I've attained spiritual enlightenment. The path of literature, you see, it's a journey to discover one's own death. Or such like. That's the sort of morning conversation I was hoping for, that's why I had my eyes shut. I missed the signs, I'm afraid, somehow. You will have to forgive me. And you mustn't talk about your path leading you to death, Miss Natsume. It was just an example. Oh, yes, there it is, inner calm. You barely came to see me at all yesterday. I was sure you abandoned me and returned to your beautiful long-lost homeland. We have not even been in Great Britain a week yet. Yes, well, anyway. I intend to set everything straight in court today. I'm determined to uncover the truth. I've actually reached an important decision myself. Oh, what sort of decision? I shall fill you in after the trial. Alright. It would seem Mr. Sholmes isn't coming today after all. It's a very clever message, I think. My dear fellow, you must win this battle on your own merits. A very clear message, I think. He overstepped again. The great detective, my arch-nemesis. Long may he stay away, if you ask me. Defendant and your legal representative. The trial is about to begin. Make your way into the courtroom immediately. Okay. Today, once again, we face the Reaper. And when the Reaper stands for the prosecution, the defendant's fate is sealed. But I don't believe that legend any more than I believe in Sasaki-san's curse. The truth is hidden here somewhere, and I won't let it escape me. I have to keep believing in my client and keep fighting to the very end, that's all. Auf geht's. When the 3rd February 9:40 a.m. the Old Bailey Courtroom. Was? Die fangen sogar früher an. Nur 40. Naja. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I call upon the counsels for the prosecution and the defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is ready. Yes, the defense is ready. Very good. And now I call upon the 6 ladies and gentlemen of the jury, chosen by a lot to represent the will of the people in this trial. Are you ready to proceed? Absolutely. Justice will be done. You mark my words. I feel obliged to say I feel especially restless on days when my head is sitting just right. Oh, well, I wonder if you could adjust my head for me, and please, be as restless as you like. Thieves deserve to die, if you ask me, especially gas thieves. I have no sympathy for them men at all. Look, I said it yesterday and I will say it again now. I don't have time for this, I've got my own problems. Oh, may the Lord show us all the light here and lead his flock to write his verdict again today. Now, Lord Van Zieks, what can you tell us? The prosecution's report, please, for the court. In relation to the theory expounded by the defense yesterday regarding the defendant's tea. So, he does have the results. Before the prosecution delivers the black news about the black tea belonging to the blackguard in the dock, pray, allow me a moment to savor a liquid of more sanguine hue. In fact, I will defer to the good detective the report. Here's to you, Inspector. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. As indicated by the defense, we found a bar of soap just outside the victim's window in the snow. And there was indeed a frozen reddish liquid in a little depression off the top of it. Yes, that's the tea. That's what Mr. Natsume brought with him that night. Well, the brands at the yard analyzed it, and yes, you're right, it was tea. And there wasn't a trace of strychnine or any other toxic substance in it. No poison at all? In other words, the tea that the defendant brought with him to the victim's room is innocent. It's in the clear. What a revelation! Yes. That is nice. Okay, as I suspected. This makes it clear. The defendant, Mr. Suzuki Natsume, is blameless. My learned friend is jumping to conclusions again. A typical Nipponese reaction. What? Yes, it's true. No poison was found in the few drops of liquid recovered from the soap at the window ledge. But what logic is that? Would you take a drop from the Thames and conclude that the water in the ocean isn't salty? My word, the water in the ocean is extremely salty, Counsel. Exactly. Unfit for drinking, just as the victim's tea was on the night in question, as the court has already heard. Bitter, what the precise word from the lips of Mr. William Shakespeare, whom the prosecution now calls back to the stand. Okay. Very well. I will uphold the prosecution's request. Mr. Shakespeare? Yes, it sounds like we are going to have another confrontation with our theatrical friend. Bailiff, show Mr. Shakespeare to the stand. Oh nein. Mr. William Shakespeare, the victim of the despicable crime. Oh heaven, oh hell, do you command me to remember? Forsooth, the was I Shakespeare did have a bellyful of the foul fluid given in mine innocence. Yes, but as we revealed in yesterday's proceedings, the witness is not as innocent as we had perhaps first been led to believe. But using bars of soap such as this, he has been stealing gas from the supply company, yes. On my smile and be a villain. Forsooth, the was I Shakespeare did have a roomful of the sweet fool given. That's right, fellow viewers, don't forget, this man is a rotten thief. I haven't forgotten, kept all that about the ice coins a tidy secret, didn't you? You shouldn't have owned up sooner. Arrest him, I say, arrest him at once, and let him feel the sting in my tail. Well, indeed, by dint of vile and cowardly means have I plotted to further mine own ends, I confess. Oh, man. Thou wouldst not pardon my sins, for that I am sure. If you acknowledge your wrongdoing, what exactly are you doing here? Cowards die many times before the death, and for a coward such as I, death be well deserved. But would it that a still greater crime passeth unpunished? For you, the hairy-faced gentleman of farther east than Verona, did contrive to poison to me. But there was no poison in the tea found in your room. The police have attested to that. What the defense would assert as an inconsistency will quickly be cleared up by the witness testimony. Is that not so, Mr. Shakespeare? Really, my league? It would most gladly speak. Very well, let the witness testify to explain this inconsistency. It occurred why it is that poison apparently entered your body to none was found in the tea. Oof. Okay, the tea inconsistency. Japanese man did come to my chamber with tea brewed in a pot. It was in my cup alone that the wicked miscreant secretly poured his wicked poison, whilst, feigning distraction in our debate, neither did a drop of his own drink pass his lips. When he departed by and by, I did use the tea that remained in the cup to make my coins of ice. Thus, 'tis no surprise the poison be not found in the tea, and to pour it in the mouth of soap. The poison was slipped into the cup after the tea had been poured. No way for poison to be administered, in my experience. Quite, otherwise it would be disastrous if the poisoner were to mix up the cups, for instance. But no poison bottles was found at the scene. Because, quite simply, the Nipponese took the bottle back to its own room. The absence of the vessel containing the poison only becomes problematic when considering suicide. I knew that. By now it should be perfectly clear. A bar or two of cheap soap is wholly insufficient to wash the deep stains of guilt from the accused's hands. Sirs, madams, it is true that I, Shakespeare, be a common thief of gas. But, listen here, ladies and gentlemen. Wherefore would I lie? Verily, I have no cause, I have naught to lose. Well, I do declare. Thank you for your testimony, witness. Counsel, proceed with the cross-examination. Yes, my lord. Yeah. Okay. I understand that you were already acquainted with Miss Natsume, is that correct? I know thee not, old man. Fall to thy prayers. Do I know thee, or know thee not? My king is all I can now, and that does me manges with mine. You lost me at the first thee. Sounds, sir. Du must learn the English tongue afore to turn thy hand to laboring. I did, but I must have missed the archaic Elizabethan lecture. Really and in truth, thus a fine flavoured brew, though a drop of poison did barb its sweetness, as the stone doth barb the sweet rose. That difference be the simple truth. Listen to Mr. Shakespeare. Seems in every better form than he was yesterday. That, or I'm in worse form. That faded evening, after I did dine, at Grub's Grabbery, a local alehouse of good report, not did pass my lips, but the tainted black tea. But behold, the poison was not in the tea at first. Nur in seinem. Hast du was gemacht? Are you saying that you saw the moment when the poison was added to your tea? To have witnessed the act and then drank the tea? Thou dost describe the actions of a fool. Quite so, quite so. But no one likes going thirsty, do they? Sooner would I die quenched in the patch, would I have the choice. Actually, the night in question, the water main was frozen, I believe, wasn't it? Were it not for the tea, in sooth I would sooner have died frozen than quenched or parched. Right, no ice coins means no heating. The witness had more than one brush with death on the night in question, it would seem. Remind the court, Mr. Shakespeare, as to whether the accused drank any of the tea which he brought with him. With the greatest of pleasure, my league. Now did the drop of his own drink pass his lips?
Hold it!
But the teacup Mr. Natsume drank from was found completely empty at the scene. And let's not forget the defendant's maxim, drink tea while it's hot. I did gulp from the poisoned cup that night, and in mine agony did I writhe uncontrolled. In fits of pain I did knock the fellow's cup, and its contents spilled a blood from gaping wounds, I think. So certainly it was after I had made the coins of ice from this tea. An upset cup was found on the table that the victim was slumped over. There's no contradiction here. It's true, there was no tea left in either cup that we found in the scene. But still, something about the statement is troubling me. Yes, of course, I know what it is. Not Miss Weiss drink tea while it's not hot maxim, isn't it? No, I'm not sure that's it. Thank you, witness. Now, we'll wait for the crowd that occupied you after your guest had left and before you drank your tea. By and by, I did use the tea. Alter. Anscheinend können nicht leiser rumfahren. Doch, ich glaube, der hat doch was getrunken. There's no tea ring in the inside of Mr. Natsume's cup. Genau, weil hätte er nichts getrunken, müsste eigentlich was sein.
Objection!
You claim that Mr. Natsume didn't drink a drop of tea on the night in question. But that's impossible. How? Chop logic? What is this, your dark ear-clad friend? The two teacups from the scene, one used by the victim and the other by the defendant, have a clear difference between them. One that represents incontrovertible proof. Incontrovertible. What difference? Look at the inside of the cups. Just here, there's a clearly visible ring. Yes, a tea ring. Commonplace enough. Indeed. Such stains occur all too readily when one leaves tea in the cup for a while. And yet, Mr. Natsume's cup has no such a ring. Good lord, you're right. It's completely clean. And, prathy, sir, what makes no of it? Exactly what Mr. Natsume told the court yesterday. Japanese saying he quoted, "Drink tea while it's hot." That's right, yes. The jittery Mr. Natsume was true to his useless shelf at night and drank his tea in no time. If, as you claim in your testimony, he didn't touch a drop of his tea, a ring would have developed in the inside of his cup as well. After several hours, the tea was left standing. But, in short, Mr. Shakespeare, you clearly lied to the court again. Get to a nunnery.
Objection!
As a rule, I fill my hollow chalice up to 7 times during any one trial. You might want to keep that information to yourself. Yet on occasion, Palladium distracts me and I pour more times than I intended until the bottle is dry. Your drinking habits are fascinating but irrelevant. On the contrary, they illustrate the fluidness of human memory. To William Shakespeare. Yes, Mike. Though you previously stated that you made the coins of ice from the leftover tea in the accused cup, could it be that you were perhaps mistaken? Could it be that, yes, perhaps there has some tea remaining in the small teapot left at the scene? In fact, that had vanished from your memory until now? Wirklich jetzt. Faith Malik, thou art a magician. A very lie. Is as thou hast seen with thine own eyes that night. What? She kein Wort. For those, I was mistook. I did plan to use tea from the Japanese fellow cup, but when I looked, it was empty. And thus did I use the dregs that festered in the teapot, as Malik did suggest. And you have just suddenly remembered now that you made a mistake before? And we're supposed to believe that?
Objection!
People's memories are imperfect, my young friend, which is why we rely on evidence instead. But in any case, it makes no difference. The victim's most recent testimony tells us two things of note. Firstly, that the poison was put into the victim's teacup only. And secondly, that the spoiled cup was not the source of the inspired ice coins that have bewitched this court. Hi, René. Hab ich mal gesagt? Hi, Abend. Ja. Prosecution makes a final summary of the facts. Furthermore, the testimony remains valid and in full support of the established facts. In other words... The inconsistency claimed by the defendant simply does not exist. No, what does this mean then? You declare it means there's no issue with the gas thief testimony? Apart from the bit about thieving gas, obviously. My lords, ladies, and gentlemen of the jury, I do solemnly swear I did dine at Grubbery Alehouse that night. Not did pass my lips, but a black tea given me by the Japanese, who begged the stupid as low as death. And on what did you dine, sir? Why, I did partake of my favorites, a broth as wouldn't be called soup, and a leaf as wouldn't be called salad. As insalubrious as menu as the establishment where it was served. But you gods will give us, some faults to make us men, willingly would us suffer, what punishment is seen fit to serve a wicked thief of gas. But, I pray you wise and noble fellows, never forget the simple truth. That be one thing, and this be another. Here was all, your humble servant, Shakespeare, does entreat you, punish the Japanese fellow for his sins. My lord. If I may speak, my lord? Yes, Mr. Foreman? I believe we may have been dubbed by that rotten defense lawyer. But... what? By me? And you declare you might be right? We all know the waif there was making coins of ice to keep himself warm. But this lawyer lad says if he's stealing gas, he deserves a dose of poison, huh? He's been leading us up to the garden path, that's what he's been doing. I really never said anything like that. But what we just heard from the victim there has opened our eyes again. We reached a decision this time, and we won't be swayed from it. The court acknowledged the position of the jury foreman, and will duly hear the jury's findings. What? No, you can't yet. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we will state your decisions now.
Guilty!
Guilty.
Oh, wow.
Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty.
I hereby declare the jury to be in one accord. Oh, happy day! Oh. How is this happening? My lord, the defense asserts its right to carry out its summation examination. Very well, the court upholds the defense right. Typical, my learned friend is unable to accept the obvious truth. I will be therefore enter its second examination immediately. Jurors to court calls upon each of you to state the grounds upon which you find the defendant guilty of the crime in which he is charged. Okay. Kommt her. Jurors' contentions. I am a man of logic, me, and having considered all the evidence, the defendant must logically be guilty. I do agree that gas is far too expensive. I can quite understand why the man would want to avoid paying. Stuff explodes and it can poison you. Substitute lethal gases. Gas doesn't come for free. It costs a fortune to deliver it. I want the city and maintain the pipes. Truth be told, the team my wife serves up for me is a little sketchy at times. If nothing else passed the victim's lips that night, there's no other explanation, is there? Wer weiß, wer weiß. I do feel that perhaps personal opinion about gas and its supply has influenced decisions somewhat. But never mind. No, you really shouldn't mind. The truth is, our counter-argument wasn't as unsaleable as we had hoped. Mr. Shamesbury was poisoned, there can be no doubt of that. Then how are we supposed to turn this around? I think we need to establish the method by which Mr. Shamesbury was actually poisoned. Our only hope is to demonstrate that occurred incontrovertibly. But that's surely almost impossible at this stage. If we don't manage it, though, Mr. Nutsmere will be found guilty. No delays, counsel. Proceed with the summation examination. Okay. Legen wir los. Ganzes Rebuttal. Ja, was für Beweise habe ich so geführt? All the evidence, you say? That's right. And there's no room for doubt. It's all pointing at that Japanese man with the big mustache. There's the Englishman with the bigger mustache. Which means we need to show the man some new evidence to make him change his mind. When we had that kind of evidence. Don't worry, the summation examination has barely started already. Perhaps there will be a shift in the situation that shows an existing piece of evidence in a new light. Let's hope so. To start with though, I need to find some way out of this deadlock. I do agree that gas is too expensive. This isn't the time or the place to be discussing the price of gas, madam. But really, think of the injustice. Air is gas and air is free. Why should ultimate gas cost money? It makes me let my blood boil. I can feel myself becoming more worthless than ever. This isn't the time or the place to be worthless either. If I might interject here. Yes, madam? It seems my fellow juror takes issue with the price of our company's charge for gas. But it's precisely because of thieves like this man that the cost goes up. Oh, what a beastly man. That unkempt mustache, those hunched shoulders, poisoning tea and stealing gas, utterly unforgivable. No, Miss Natsume isn't the one who's been stealing gas. I will thank you not to go adding one more crime. Miss Natsume hasn't been poisoning the tea either. Well, anyway, I've quite made up my mind. It's made up the price of gas. Ja, und warte mal, hat sich das geändert? Nee. Could we please talk about the poison rather than the gas, do you think so? Well, if you like, I mean, to be honest, I would take poison over gas every time. You would take poison? What I mean is, poison can only poison you. It doesn't explode, does it? Goodness me, what are you talking about? Let him straight, please, lawyer man. Well, it's certainly true that poison isn't prone to exploding. But I think you will find poison also can't light or heat up a room. You're right. I hadn't considered that at all. Young lawyer man. Yes. You have a good head on your shoulders. We could use someone like you as our company's legal representative. Well, I wasn't expecting to pick up more business in the middle of a trial, that's for sure. Anyway, the point is, I haven't had the best experience with gas companies in the past. Come for free, it costs for tun, bla bla bla, ja. Oh Mann, warum redet ihr über das Gas? Hat doch jetzt nichts damit zu tun. Can we please refrain from all this talk of gas? There's an all-out attack underway here in the case you had noticed, against my company's gas. And I'm supposed to sit here and take it, am I? I don't think so. He's really buzzing now. All I've heard about our wonderful fuel is explosions and poisoning. What about electricity, huh? What about getting electrocuted? What about that? A little explosion here and there's nothing in comparison. The explosions could hardly be described as nothing, madam. Nevertheless, the theft of our gas, of your gas is deplorable. My point exactly, but the gas thieves aren't even the worst of our enemies. We have far more devious reprobants to contend with on a daily basis, you know. More devious? Who, madam? Other gas companies, of course. Other gas companies? Not quite what I was expecting. We generate gas and we deliver it to our customers fair and square. Indeed, nobody is questioning that, madam. Altamont is an extremely gas company. But there are other unscrupulous gas companies here in London that don't even have any gas at all. What? But if they don't have any gas, how do they go about selling it to people? You wouldn't think it possible, would you? But they steal our gas, you see, and sell that. They steal your gas? How on earth is such a thing possible? Gas companies like ours deliver gas to people's homes via a network of pipes. But these devious reprobates secretly disconnect our pipes and divert our gas into their own rotten pipes. Then they make a contract with the household supplied by those pipes. And take money for the precious gas that's rightfully ours without us even knowing. And they are diverting gas into their own pipes illegally, what a brazen form of theft. Emitters visit customer houses to collect the money from their meters, where we have to check whether or not one of those devious companies has been up to its tricks. Excuse me. Do you have something to say about that, juror number 3? Oh, Jolly, you mean me? I'm terribly sorry, I was just thinking to myself. I really did catch him off guard there. Think about what the lady next to you was saying, correct? Well, yes. I just got a little relight about it recently, you see? Go on. An Altamont gas worker visited my house the other day to investigate the pipework. We need to ask for your cooperation while we carry out a secret check of your property, sir, the fellow said. So I let him in, and do you know what he did? I'm afraid I have no idea. Please tell us. He proceeded to take one of my lights off the wall. Then he grabbed the exposed mouth of the pipe and started blowing into it. What do you think you're doing, young man? You're giving every company secrets there. Oh, please, everybody knows. But it was very nearly the death of me, I can tell you. What do you mean? I will explain, if you don't mind. As I said before, these unscrupulous other gas companies connected their customer to our pipe network. Yes, but how does blowing into the pipe come into it? Obviously there's gas in the pipes and it's at fairly low pressure. By blowing air through the pipe, you can make the pressure drop temporarily. And if you do that, any lights connected to the same pipe will flicker for a moment. Ah, I see. In other words, if upon blowing into the pipe, the lights of an adject property that is no contact upon blowing into the pipe, the lights of an adjacent property that has no contract with a company flicker, and know that these devious scoundrels have been meddling with the pipes. Exactly, my lord. That's it in a nutshell. It's the reason why we have terms of workers going around neighborhoods to investigate which lights flicker. The trouble is, the particular worker who came to my house didn't know the strength of his own breath. He blew down the pipe with all his might, and you can guess what happened, can't you? Well, if he blew hard, then... Wait, you mean... That's right, the lights didn't just flicker, they went out. Along with the stove, gas started pouring into the house. What a disaster. The gas supply must have been interrupted briefly because the man blew too hard. The flames went out. I'm afraid I yelled at the fellow. Are you trying to kill us all? I said. So by disconnecting a lamp and blowing into the exposed gas pipe, it was able to extinguish lamps and stoves connected to the same network of pipes. And thus, when the gas starts flowing again, it just suddenly seeps into the room. Naruto, I think perhaps... Yes, almost certainly the clue that we have been hoping for. Rule number 3. The defense requests that you amend your statement to include that information. Oh, well, if you like, I don't mind. Well, I do. That's our company's secret method of identifying the rooks that try to... Like I said, madam, widely known already. Boom. Very well, Rule number 3, you will amend your statement accordingly. Yes, my lord. Although I'm not really sure what the point of all this is. Go right into the gas trap and you extinguish everything in the house, and then you're in a real trouble. Okay. Mal sehen.
Objection!
Nein! Scheiße. Nicht gut. Das wäre ein weiterer Beweis. Muss ich doch anders machen.
Objection!
Oh, stimmt, okay. These two statements clearly contradict each other. Good gracious, to what statements do you refer, Counsel? Rule number 6, did you hear what Rule number 3 just said? What? Yes, of course. I heard him mumbling about something or other. There is another explanation here, I believe. Something besides Mr. Natsume's D did, in manner of speaking, pass the victim's lips the night in question. What? What explanation? I wonder, did the police check the mouth of the gas pipe feeding the wall light in the scene? To see if there are any traces of poison that... Oh, okay, die Fingerabdrücke sind da, weil jemand da... Okay, reingepustet hat. Und da gestanden hat. Oh, ich verstehe. I was curious to see what your fluttering would result at this time at the mouth of a gas pipe. Scotland Yard have enough to do without exploring such irrelevance. What a piece of work is a man. What are you trying to say, Mr. Shakespeare? What speakest thou, prithee, is not strange and strange? That is what I say to thee, sir. I thought it would be quite clear, but let me put it another way. The strychnine could have been on the mouth of the gas pipe that feeds the wall lamp in your room. And that is how the poison came to enter your body. Good lord. Are they tasty then, gas pipes? Is that what he's saying? Oh, is the gentleman suggesting that the poor man was so desperately hungry he tried to fill his belly with gas? Perhaps no actress would perform a kiss scene with him, huh? For shame, madam, speaking thy fancy. I assure you I'm not such a buffoon that I have to kiss pipes.
Objection!
This is no summation examination, this is a farce. The prosecution will not stand for any more of my learned Nipponese friend's conjecture. To begin with, The lamp in the victim's room is high on the wall. In order to have placed the slips on the pipe defeats it, he would have to be a contortionist. These are empty assertions. Was ist doch nicht wieder... There's no possible proof that the man did as you say. It's true, I have no proof that Mr. Shakespeare put his lips to the pipe. However, I can say with some certainty that on multiple occasions Mr. Shakespeare has been doing something in front of the lamp on his wall. I have evidence to prove it. Alright, you have got our attention, lad. I'd like to see how you can be sure of yourself. Why would I? Let's see this evidence then. Now that I've got a curious ear, I need to make this opportunity count. This is the proof that, time and time again, Mr. Shakespeare stood in front of his gas lamp.
Take that!
What the... These are... wait, what are they called? Yes, skin prints that were found at the scene. Skin prints, counsel? I've never heard of such things. The Justice Ministry is currently assessing whether or not to permit fingerprints as evidence in court, however. My lord, this is an exciting new forensic technique developed by the great detective Mr. Sherlock Holmes. It reveals all of the places that Mr. Shakespeare touched in his room. I never seen anything like that. I mean, that's black magic, isn't it? Well, if anyone could invent something like this, it's that great Holmes fellow, that's for sure. I agree, this month's edition of Engineering Thumbs was quite fascinating. We found skin prints in many places that you would expect, on the table, on the costumes. However, Mr. Shakespeare also appeared to have been touching some very unexpected places in his room. For example, here. On the hanging picture there, indeed, multiple pen prints appear to be visible. Well, I wonder, would he have been appreciating the artwork perhaps? At first my colleagues and I thought the same. However, imagine standing with your hands where the those prints are, and you would find yourself directly in front of... I don't believe it! The gas lamp. Though the reason why isn't immediately obvious, it's clear that Mr. Shakespeare has regularly been standing with his hand to the wall in front of that lamp. Right. What have you been up to, you nut? I would ask Kurt to recall your number 4 earlier statement. Me? What did I say? You said that blowing into the gas pipe would make the lights in the entire building flicker. And now, if you will recall your number 3 statement... What, me now? When the gas worker who visited his home blew with too much force into the pipe, it caused all the lights in the gas stove to go out and gas to start leaking into the rooms. Obviously, that incident was an accident, however, the simple fact is, if Mr. Shakespeare were to have blown hard into the gas pipe here in this room, he could have extinguished every other light and gas stove in the building at once. Ricky! Are you suggesting that the man purposefully caused the gas to...
Objection!
While I acknowledge that the prosecution is required to remain silent during a summation examination, I must toast my learned friends under discredit for the letter of the law. What is the meaning of this, Lord 16? This curious photograph, or whatever it is, presented by the defense, the so-called skin prints. Clearly, that cannot be accepted as any form of usable evidence in this case. But it's an exciting new forensic technique developed by a great detective. It's nothing. A mere toy developed by an amateur, lost with too much time on his hands. Suddenly even research of this nature by the esteemed Mr. Sholmes cannot be recognized by the court as formal evidence. But... please, my lord, if I may, Mr. Sato, it was not the defense's intention to submit the skin prints as formal evidence. We merely wished to present the result of the great detective investigation of the scene. The tool by which to explain a possibility to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury. And if the trial were to come to an end and now, we should never learn the truth behind this mysterious handprints that everyone has now seen. I don't believe we can allow that to happen. I'm sure the jurors would agree. You're right. Whether those strange handprints are a significant clue or not, it's down to us to decide. Juror number 3. Oh yes, I do declare, the Great Detective's investigation results sounds absolutely fascinating. I want to hear what that shady actor fellows has to say about those shady handprints. Nice. What's the matter with you two? Was foolhardy. Well, I did say it, didn't I? And I don't like to break a promise. No, wait! You heard his lordship. It's not fair that... I don't know. Oh, well done, Mr. Naruto. If just one more juror changes his or her mind, Natsume's trial will have to continue. Thank you, Mr. Toto. I couldn't have done it without you. Oh no, it was you who identified the clue, after all. It's very much your success. Why, Mr. Shakespeare, you seem to be losing your composure. Just one more juror, Mr. Naruto. You can do it. Very well. Continue, counsel. Okay. Dann würde ich sagen, ihn muss ich noch befragen. You mean it's poisoned? That's right. It's happened a tidy few times now. This is most troubling indeed. It's always days like this one when I don't get any wages. I get in these times and I see her doing it, my wife. I guess that devilish look on her face. She slipped some white powder into my cup. And you drink it anyway? I was brought up proper, I was. If someone gives you a cuppa, you drink it. And what happened to you? What did it taste like? It was god awful, believe you me. Salty as hell. Then I think perhaps what your wife put in your tea was salt? No! So she doesn't even care enough to poison me properly? Unbelievable. Let's move on, please. Ja, bitte. Zum Teufel. Wie mal was das ab mir ist, little sketch, ja. Ja, da muss ich gleich nochmal durchbefragen. Ja, blablabla, bis dann er vorkam. Ah, here. First we have to check whether or not one of those devious companies has been up to its tricks. I had no idea. It's almost unbelievable. It might seem unbelievable to you, but it's happening all the time, right here in the capital. It's very difficult selling something you can't see, you know, very difficult indeed. Thank you, that will do. Clearly, this is a very involved subject, but I feel we have discussed rather too much already. I concur, though if my learned friend wishes to become an expert in gas, I believe the subject will suit him well. Your new career in nothingness. Thank you so much. Return your attention to the next juror's assertion, please, counsel. Soll ich noch was zu sagen? All the evidence, you say? That's right. And there's no room for doubt. It's all pointing on the Japanese man with that big mustache. There's the Englishman with the bigger mustache. But the defense just demonstrated another possible explanation for the events on the night in question. What do you make of that? What? Your so-called skin prints? It's an exciting new forensic investigation technique developed by the great detective himself. The numerous handprints on the wall are clearly out of the ordinary. And if Mr. Shakespeare had indeed put his mouth to the gas pipe on the night in question, it can't be denied that there's a possibility that where the poison was. Well, yes, I won't deny that it's playing on my mind. But as the prosecution rightly says, we should pay no heed to unacceptable forms of the evidence. And besides, yes, even if the fellow has been up to some mischief with the gas pipe dozens of times before, it doesn't mean he got up to the same shenanigans on the night in question, does it? If you can't make your case better than that, I'm afraid I can't change my stance. You do make a very valid point, sir. What? That's true. Perhaps I was a little hasty. No, wait. Look, you have got your chance here, haven't you? It's time to prove your theory. If you and your Japanese cohorts can, that is. Just leave our nationality out of this, please. Naruto, if you can substantiate your positions, I'm afraid the jurors had to change their minds before may very well change them back. I do. Is there any more proof I can give here? Da muss ich mal gucken. Nee, ich habe hier glaube ich nichts, was ich machen kann. Oder? Now show that Mr. Shakespeare really did blow down at the gas pipe on the night in question. Reporting testimony. Ja, ich glaube, ich habe keinen Beweis, glaube ich, aber es ist vielleicht eine Aussage. No, in truth, I don't have evidence to support my theory. However, there is witness testimony that substantiates its... What's that? Testimony? This is incredible. Whose testimony? Yes, it's all connected. Everything is linked. A person whose testimony revealed details about the gas in the Gerichtsprozess residence at that night. Namely, entweder er oder John Garrett. Ich will mal ihn ganz kurz. War falsch, oder? Well, Mr. Foreman? Nein, scheiße, okay. Der Gedanke war doch besser. Hätte eigentlich auch ein Auge drauf gehabt, aber irgendwie sollte ich ihn nicht nehmen. Ich spiele mal kurz vor.
Take that!
Obviously, I'm talking about the defendant, Mr. Soseki Natsume himself. The defendant? After the very beginning of the proceedings here in court yesterday, Ms. Natsume said the following. My lodgings, there's been a whole series of strange happenings in my lodgings. Even in the fateful night it happened when I returned from Mr. James Spears' room. Oh my. It lit my gas stove and climbed into bed, but before long, the stove went out, and somebody tried to kill me. On the night in question, the gas in the defendant's room went out. So I asked the court, was that a mere coincidence or not? Good golly. The James Spears fellow blew air into the gas pipe to make the man's stove go out on purpose? No hot house is there. What would he do that for? Was eine Ahnung, ja. Mr. Foreman? What is this, man? You cannot allow judgment to be passed while this doubt remains. It's true that I don't have conclusive evidence yet. However, you must surely agree there's more than this case than meets the eye. Fair enough. Like I said at the outset, I'm a man of logic, first and foremost. That's 4 jurors leaning towards not guilty, my lord. We have overturned the decision. Therefore, the defense calls for the trial to continue. The defense has rightfully indicated the summation examination has concluded with a majority of jurors altering their decisions. 2 jury members now call guilty, for now call not guilty. Therefore, Joe's opinion is conflicted and, in accordance with the law of this land, I hereby order the continuation of this trial. Mr. William Shakespeare. My lord, how can thy humble Shakespeare serve thee? What say you in response to the various revelations made during the summation examination? So God meant me, I do solemnly swear, I recall aught of either the lamp or the pipe. But your handprints have made a tidy mess out of the wall there. How do you explain that, huh? I am done with this. The dignity of this great courtroom has been sullied enough already. Juror number 5. No, oh, me? As I went to some pains to point out already, a print from the self-professed detective toy has no place in the British court of law. As such, whether or not this man did indeed stand before the gas lamp with his hands against the wall remains, at this time, unestablished conjecture. We would all do well to remember that.
Objection!
But the prosecution must concede that it would be extremely simple to verify. Just order the mouth of the gas pipe feeding that lamp in Mr. Shakespeare's room to be examined. There are traces of poison there.
Objection!
What appears to be extremely simple to manipulate his friend's mind. Do you recall that in order to check for the presence of poison in the tea, some remnants of tea were required? Yes. Therefore, it shouldn't be beyond your wit to imagine that even if poison were to have been spilled on the pipe, it would have been completely evaporated by now, making any analysis impossible. Oh, I didn't think of that. In any case, counsel, I fail to see what could possibly have motivated the man to do as you describe. Why on earth would this fellow have wanted to blow air into the gas pipework where he lived? There's only one possibility that I can think of, and that is to use the leaking gas to commit murder. Order! Order! Counsel! Precisely whose life do you propose this man was plotting to end? The answer couldn't be simpler. Now we have unraveled the mystery this far. The Shakespeare wanted to end the life of.
Take that!
the gas lamp were to go out, it would be noticed immediately. But a gas stove, on the other hand, would be silently extinguished by the killer without anyone noticing. I live around this part myself, so I knew what it's like. I can tell you, trying to sleep without the stove it lit is pretty much suicide. You would force to death in no time. The guy left the landlord has a large fireplace in this part of the residence top floor. In other words, it wasn't the landlord, but a fellow lodger, life Mr. Shakespeare was trying to end. Outrageous! I'm talking, of course, about the defendant. Oh. Mr. Natsume isn't the villain in this case. He is the victim this man was trying to murder. Good gracious!
Objection!
The accused is actually the aggrieved. Interesting. However, fundamental facts of the case remain unchanged. Namely, that the accused is the aggressor here. What? How can you still claim that? Let us indict your fancies for a moment and assume that there was indeed poison on the mouth of the gas pipe. The question is that then arises is who put it there? Who did put it there? The only logical conclusion is that the person responsible was aware of this man's trickery with the gas supply and his intent to kill. Yes, that would indeed seem logical. If the silent were unaware, how would he or she have known to last the end of the gas pipe with poison? So now we must ask, how could anyone have known of Mr. Shakespeare's murderous designs? You mean to suggest? Naturally, the sole possible answer to this question couldn't be more obvious. Only the man whose life was being threatened could possibly have known. What? In other words, the person who put the poison in the gas pipe in what was a clear literally attack can only have been the accused, Mr. Sosaki Natsume. Oh no. Whatever Mr. William Shakespeare may or may not have contrived to do, he was nevertheless the victim of a potentially lethal poison attack. And the only person who could possibly have perpetrated that attack is the accused Mr. Natsume. The defense counsel's theorizing has failed to arrest suspicion from the accused, far from it. In fact, now that a clear motive for the poisoning has been successfully established, that suspicion is greater than ever. Would you not agree, meinem friend? Hi, Julian. No! Oh shit, das ist nicht gut. How did he manage to turn that around on me so rapidly? Mr. Naruto, you must respond. Otherwise, the members of the jury may very well change the leanings against us again. And this may be our last chance to gain the advantage. What advantage? Well, it would seem that somebody put poison in the gas pipe in Mr. Shakespeare's room. We must name the person now and absolve Mr. Natsume of guilt. You mean, name the true culprit? I know, it might sound impossible, but if we fail to do that, I have no doubt that Mr. Natsume's fate will be sealed once and for all. As it happens, one possible culprit does come to mind. The evidence, poison, all pointing to a particular person now. The prosecution calls for the jury to consider their leanings again. I trust you make the correct choice this time, Mr. Foreman. What? Oh, don't worry, no exact word. There is one other person. who I believe could have been involved in all of this. The culprit of this crime. The true culprit? A term found only in the second-rate novels featuring third-rate great detectives, meinem his friend. But why not? This farce has gone on for so long already. I see no reason to cut it short before its disappointing climax. Thank you. Tell us, meinem his friend. What is your latest theory? Who is the so-called true culprit of this crime? Ich hab keine Ahnung. Okay. Okay. Nein, oder?
Take that!
You claim this person is the true culprit? Highly suspicious, I would say. Yes. Perhaps Malian Nipponese friend, you should turn those white eyes of suspicion on yourself. What? Okay, es war falsch. Ja, aber wer hätte es jetzt sonst machen können? Ja. Oh. Genau. Too corporate. Kommt nur noch der mir hier in den Sinn, aber oh. Glaube ich nicht, oder? Oder? Nein, das kann nicht sein, oder? Nein. Das ist auch nicht. What?
Take that!
Wer soll es denn sonst sein?
Take that!
Bin ich gerade falsch? Nee, das ist nicht, oder? Doch, was? Was? Okay, ich kann es mir erklären, aber wann hat sie das denn gemacht? Name of the person responsible for the poison that afflicted Mr. Shakespeare is, I believe, Miss Olive Green. Miss Olive Green? Miss Olive Green? You feel as though I've heard that name in the recent past, Counsel. I don't recall where. Miss Olive Green? The woman from 6 days ago. the victim in the recent case of stabbing in Brea Road. An incident for which Mr. Natsume was arrested, I hasten to add. Oh, of course, yes, Miss Green. He was left comatose for some 3 days, I believe, but I heard he regained consciousness 2 days ago. And I hardly need remind the court that Mr. Shakespeare's poisoning took place 3 days ago. Given that the woman was laying comatose in a hospital bed at the time, he appears to have a rather fine alibi. Sure, the night that incident occurred, Miss Green was in hospital unconscious. So, on the face of it, it would seem wouldn't possibly be responsible, but still. My colleagues and I visited Miss Green in hospital yesterday, and we found her to be in possession of a bottle of poison. Good gracious, she had poison? And there is another fact that links Miss Green to this case as well. Defense requests that she be brought to the witness stand in order to explain the details to the court. Ah, tell me, Mr. Shakespeare. My lord, pray, what be thy bidding? Are you acquainted with Miss Green? No, never heard of her. Judging by the look on Mr. Shakespeare's face, I think perhaps the genuine doesn't know her, at least not by name. As the voice of Her Majesty prosecution here, I adhere to my word. We'll see my learned and his friend fast through to its conclusion. I appreciate that. The execution requests a short recess, my lord, in order to subpoena the witness and bring her here. Yes, Miss Olive Green? Indeed, my lord. 1 hour should be sufficient. Very well, I grant the request. Excellent. I hope. The defense has made a most extraordinary accusation. But at the present time, I feel the prosecution's argument remains largely uncontested. Accordingly, I'm afraid the defendant and his culpability remain the sole subject for this court intent. Thank you, counsels. We reconvene in 1 hour. Court is adjourned. We continued. Ooh. Bist noch da, Julian? Ich wollte kurz eine Pause machen und ich überlege, ob ich das weiterspiele oder kurz was anderes mache. Genau, erstmal kurz eine Pause. Bin dann gleich wieder da. Ich mal, glaube ich, denke noch ein bisschen weiter. Ob ich das schaffe, weiß ich nicht. Aber wir müssen noch. Schaffen. Ah, jetzt auf einmal, okay. Ja, okay, dann, dann will ich, glaube ich, mal so weit vorlesen, bis ich dann zum Gerichtsfall vorkomme. Dann will ich vielleicht kurz Pause machen, was anderes spielen. Genau. 23rd February, 11:32 a.m. All by the defendant's antechamber. Joyful, jubilant, jumping jacks. Oh, Mr. Natsume, I'm so pleased for you. Locum student Mr. Naruto Esquire and non-locum judicial assistant Mr. Kodoba Esquires. Now, finally, at long last, there can be proof that I'm innocent and proof that my tea is innocent. Ah, good morning, my dear fellows. Ah, hello, Sholmes. May you drink my Tibet tea and fall forever silent. I thought the tea was innocent. So you have came, how wonderful. Please, save your derision, I know what you are all thinking. Good morning, he says, when it's very nearly time for luncheon. Your scorn is written clearly across your faces. Nobody said or thought anything of the sort. The truth is, I was determined that today would be the day. I slept to this last night, I thought. Tomorrow, for once, I shall not oversleep. I was early in the present crowd to support my companions. Such spirited determination has a beauty all of its own, does it not? Oh, yes. And then I began to muse on the subject. Why do people oversleep? I queried. Why time after time do they make the same foolish blunder? And the answer came to me at once, as though delightful, simply. People oversleep because they sleep. Well, is that not an insight into the matter? Oh, yes? Upon which realization I attempted an experiment. I didn't sleep a wink all night. As a result, first light I was exhausted and began to be assailed by fits of drowsiness. Shocking. And so the conclusion of last night's experiment is this. A good night's sleep is quite simple and essential. Yes, I think most of us probably knew that already. What other presuppose I proved by experimentation that, my dear fellow, is a scientific method. And yes, and one more thing. Remember this? Yes, of course. It's a poison that Miss Green was about to drink in the hospital yesterday. Ah, you did manage to... It was laborious task and the bottle was near empty, but such inconvenience does not hinder shops. I managed to confirm that it contained strychnine. So I was right. Perhaps, though, of course, such circumstantial evidence doesn't prove Miss Green's guilt. I shall leave the bottle in your care now, but licking the inside of the neck is not recommended. Uh-oh. Could I have a word? Gregson, how good of you to come. Forget it. Excuse me. Wait a minute, Inspector. I don't wish to make a nuisance of myself. The look on your face, I would say it's someone else who you think is making a nuisance of himself. My Inspector, please speak freely. Pretend that I'm not here. Believe me, if I could do that, life would be a whole lot simpler for me. Do you have the results, Inspector, of the investigation of Mr. Shakespeare's room? Not yet. Shouldn't be long enough, though. No, I'm here about something else. That dead convict, actually. You mean the man from the newspaper article we discovered yesterday in Mr. Shakespeare's room? A man by the name of... yes, Seldon. I went through the archives at the yard and dug out the fellow's file. There's something in there that... well, it caught my eye. Something caught your eye? What, Inspector, what? I've copied out the relevant parts for you, so you can read it for yourself. Thank you. Okay. These documents include the details that were in the visual cutting we found in Mr. Shakespeare's room. I'll rearrange everything in the court record so we don't have duplicate information. Are you giving us a copy of this important file though? Well, you are the ones who turned up the clues in the first place, aren't you? I'm just making sure things get handled in the proper fashion. Ah, Scotland Yard's working are so wonderful. Indeed, my dear fellows, and the inspector here is a shining diamond on its crown. Shining diamond in the rough, maybe. Look, I just don't wanna be beholden by a lawyer, that's all. Counsel for the defense and the defendant. All proceedings are about to resume. Make your way into the courtroom at once. Well, I shall leave you then. I will be listening with interest from the public gallery. Not nodding off at all, certainly not. Thank you, Mr. Sholmes. I'm rather tired of seeing Mr. Mustache in floods of tears, personally, so the best of luck to you. Lockup student Mr. Nodo is crier. Yes, Mr. Natsume? It's time, isn't it? Yes, this is it. Miss Olive Green and Mr. William Shakespeare. It's going to be the final battle. Bum. Das aber erst morgen entschieden wird. I won't really have saved Sasaki-san until I've exposed the whole truth. Everything that's been going on. But it's all coming to a head now. You can do it, Renosuke. You have to.